Summon Sign is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Hello everyone, welcome to episode 8 of Summon Sign, Last Stand Media's weekly in-depth gaming discussion podcast. I am your host, as always, Brad Ellison. Joining me this week are Ben Smith. What's up, Ben?
How's it going, dude? Brad Ellis.
That's right.
I always want to call you Bradley Ellis, even though I call you Brad because your like name everywhere is Bradley.
I know. It's somehow, I don't know. I guess I just use Bradley because it is technically my full name, but no one calls me Bradley.
Right, yeah. Like anytime we're talking, playing games, whatever, I call you Brad. But when I refer to you like as LSM's Bradley Ellis, it feels like more formal, like the president.
It is more formal, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I kind of like having formal names. Like yours would probably be Benjamin.
Yeah.
It's like.
But nobody calls me Benjamin.
No one calls you Benjamin, except maybe your parents or something, or someone like that would.
No, they don't even. I mean, my mom probably called me Benjamin like as a kid when I was in trouble or something. But
yeah,
Bradley feels like it's much more easy to say than Benjamin. I guess it's the syllables.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
and also we got Lockmore. What's up, dude?
I'm very glad to be here with my Helldivers 2 buddies.
Yes, sir. We're all in the squad together.
Cool. I didn't know your name was I didn't know your name was Bradley until right now. I thought that was a joke. Yeah, I thought it was a joke. I named one of my edits Brad of Avanium or something, and Dustin put like Bradley, so I thought, that's a good joke. But that's your real name.
That's my real name. Yes.
Okay, cool.
No one calls me that though, really. But yes, that is technically my full name.
Well, I will from now on. So
you can call me whatever you want, Locke.
Oh.
You got free reign.
Wow.
Locke is in the void right now. Also, pitch black back there. Real spooky.
Well,
I like it.
There's a reason for that because
there's a reason.
My laundry's back here, so nobody can see it now.
Do you have a cat?
Check out Ellie. Yeah,
I don't have a cat. No.
Oh yeah, you do. Okay, I don't think I've ever seen your cat.
Last time, wasn't she here last time?
I don't remember, dude. It's a blur.
She's always hopping around back there.
I remember you, Locke, not anything else.
That's enough. That's enough. Yeah.
We'll talk about Helldivers later, but real quick about the cat. We were playing Helldivers like the first week it was out, and Locke just empties a full clip into me, and it was like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and I was like, "That was on purpose." He's like, "No, literally, Ellie stepped on my hand and made me misfire my gun."
That's what she does.
That is a very cat thing to do.
Yeah.
Whoa! Just flip my mouse over. Before we get into the show, though, please head on over to patreon.com/laststandmedia. If you want to support us, we greatly appreciate it. $5 a month gets you early access and ad-free versions of this show, as well as our other podcasts, Sacred Symbols, Defining Duke, Punching Up, all that good stuff. Also, leave a nice review if you enjoy the show on whatever service you're using, or whatever, all that good stuff. We'd greatly appreciate it. So thanks. Boys, got a couple warm-up questions before we get going and talk about games.
Mm-hmm.
First one is from Chet, you betcha. Largest animal you think you could feasibly knock out with one punch? Now, I thought about this for a little bit. I decided a sloth. I feel like I can knock out a sloth with one punch.
Yeah.
I don't know what else, though. Like, sloths aren't super small, but they're not, like, huge or anything.
There's a lot of factors in this question. Like, the big one is the animal trying to fight back?
No, I think you get a free sucker punch. Yeah.
Free sucker punch on any animal.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the knockout is all about, shaking the brain loose inside the skull. So I feel like I could probably do like not a bear, but like up to a bear.
A bear?
Yeah, because it's not fighting back.
Wow.
I know, but a bear is fucking huge, Ben.
Well, it's just I said up to a bear, but not a bear. Okay,
what are you, Kratos? Like, holy shit!
I'm just saying, like, if I just had one free shot and I got the geometry right or whatever, of hitting the bear, or the thing that's just under a bear size in the head, just the right way to like shake its brain loose and knock it out. yeah, if the bear's fighting back, I'm dead.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, if I just get a free sucker punch and like
Well,
you
what
have to do some math ahead of time, I think I could do it.
What else
Well,
is
our-
bear sized? I don't even know.
Go ahead.
Large dog. I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't want to say dog though. You know.
There's no dog bear. Like a bear-sized dog.
Well, you get like a Great Dane and a baby bear. Those are close to the same
All
size.
right, all right, fine.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking full-grown animal here, not baby form. That's cheating.
What does it? Are we counting like the strength of the animal or just how large is it? Because I think I can punch out a giraffe or an ostrich.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Those are
I
pretty
think so.
big.
Yeah.
So that counts. Like a
You
giraffe,
gotta-
then that's my answer. I
You gotta
win.
worry about, like, can that break your hand, though?
Well, no, but
Maybe,
you didn't
but-
talk about the consequences.
I know,
You
I'm
should
just saying. You
definitely
gotta
knock
think
it
about
out.
that. Like, let's be realistic here. Giraffe head is still pretty big. You're
That's
punching it,
true.
remember? Not
Yeah.
kicking it.
That's true.
Like,
I
come
think
on.
if you hit it like on the side, it should go down.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all. See, I feel like an ostrich. You said ostrich, and they got a tiny little head. But I feel
Yeah,
like that's
that's
harder
true.
because of the math of how big their brain is compared to their skull. There's probably not enough room for it to rattle loose. You know.
Yeah.
So just do a sucker punch.
Yeah,
below.
that's true.
Yeah.
Just knock it
Uppercut
out.
him. Yeah.
We'll do it.
Stretch its neck
Man.
out a little more.
Uppercutting an ostrich would be awesome. All right. Well, I'm sticking with sloth. I feel like I could realistically knock out a sloth and maybe
Yeah.
not break my hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sloths are sick. Do you guys like sloths? I think they're cool.
I think they're cool. I don't know if I want to. I think they would probably mesh you up if they really cared to, though.
If
You
they
know.
can catch you.
Well,
Can
yeah.
they?
I don't
Don't
know.
they have like these big fucking
They
weird
got claws.
That's what I was
Claw
thinking.
things, Yeah.
Yeah, like if
But
you
like-
let one latch onto you, it just like
Yeah, but to let it latch onto you is going to take like 2 minutes, I
True.
guess.
yeah.
And it's like if it punches at you, does it like swing real slow?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we
know.
got any. I don't think any sloths have a career in boxing. That's for sure.
No.
Yeah.
All right. This next question's from Brad Felix. Gentiles, I have a soft warm-up question for you. Fuck, marry, kill, Colin, Dustin, Chris. Cheers, fellas. All right. Okay. Hear me out, boys. Marry? Oh, no, sorry. Fuck. Chris. Marry. Dustin. Kill Colin. I feel like Dustin would be a good husband / wife, whatever role you want to play.
Yeah.
You know, he's easy to get along with. He'll play games with you. All that good stuff.
That's true.
Chris, he's a little wild fella.
Mm-hmm.
He's squirrely.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to live with that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And Colin, what else needs to be said? We all know.
Yeah.
Guy's a psychopath, but we love him.
I think I have a different set of answers, almost entirely.
Okay, let's hear it.
So I think I'll stick with the well, okay, no, entirely different. I'm gonna say marry Colin because the guy, he's loaded
Okay,
and he
that's a good
keeps to
point.
himself. So like you have financial security and you don't ever have to deal with him. Like
Mm.
you just get different rooms, whatever. Nobody said anything, there's no intimacy there or whatever.
Right.
So he's just like, I have the money set up for the rest of my life
That's true.
and we don't have to put up with each other.
Smart.
And sometimes maybe he buys me nice things. I think definitely kill for Chris because he's the one I know the least.
Okay. Fair
Like
enough.
I know Chris, we're
Yeah.
friends, but I know him the least and he also doesn't pay me. So
True.
he's dead. And I guess where the options lie after that.
Yeah. Oh, Dusty boy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Smart.
You heard it.
Yeah.
Smart.
Locke?
I would kill Colin too, but only so that Dustin inherits the company, and then I would marry Dustin. And then if
Yeah.
something happens to Dustin, it becomes mine.
That's true.
And I would fuck Chris because he's little and he's not. He won't be able to get away. So.
Well, I think Colin at one point said that Micah inherits the company if he dies.
Oh shit! Well,
True.
then Micah has to go too.
You have to
then.
kill
Yeah.
Micah too.
Yeah.
They're
That's
a
true.
package deal.
Right.
Sorry.
We'll just assume that.
No.
Dude, great, well thought out answers. All right, dudes. This is from Zeke the Plumber. Summoning compadres. I gotta ask y'all, what's your take on Colin outing George Washington as his hall pass, as revealed on this week's Sacred Symbol? I definitely didn't have Colin daydreaming about being bussy busted by America's founding father on my bingo card.
Mm-hmm.
You guys ever wonder what else is going on in your boss's head?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch this, but I did hear about this.
Yeah, same.
And wooden teeth were brought up into it, and I immediately checked out when I heard that.
Yeah. Man, I love history as much as the next guy, but that thought never crossed my mind, I got to be honest with you, about any of the founding fathers. Right. Yeah.
Right. It's more a respect thing.
Yeah.
I guess, not sexual fantasy.
And also, like, they're wearing wigs, so if they come off, like, it's who knows what's under there.
Oh my God. Jesus.
Yeah.
It could be horrible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to respect them because they're traitors to my continent, so
that's true.
I can do whatever they want. I would.
Rebels, yeah.
Give me those wooden teeth.
Oh.
Hand them over.
Oh, man. Good Lord. Yeah, I don't know. Like, really, out of everyone? Like, I don't. All right. I wonder what Micah thinks of that.
She's probably into it. She's kind of an odd bird,
Yeah.
I love her, but, she's into some stuff that.
I wonder if she's just so unfazed about everything now. It just doesn't even cross her mind. I don't know. But yeah, you're right. They are peas in a pod. Just both windows, I guess.
Yeah.
So it works out. All right, guys. Let's actually talk about some video games. Last episode, I made fun of, or I brought up how Colin, his shows take like 40 minutes to get into the segments.
Yeah.
Or talk about games. Yes. And he was on last week with Hogue, and we took like 45 minutes also. So I definitely am guilty of that. But this week, we're going to stay a little more on track, I suppose, even though we started out real hot and weird. All right, Ben.
Yes.
Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. This is a spinoff to Deep Rock Galactic, the 4-player co-op digging game, right?
Yes, you got it. Yeah, so if you're familiar at all with Deep Rock Galactic, which has been a pretty big hit, it was in early access on Steam, and then it came to PlayStation Plus and Game Pass. I don't know which one came first, but so it's been on both of those subscription services. It's been on Steam. The game has had like tremendous support, and it's been a favorite of mine for years. I haven't played as much of it as I've liked to, but like still like 40, 50 hours over the years. And it's so much fun with a bunch of friends just goofing around. So when I saw that they were working on Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, I was like, I don't even know what it is, but I'm in. I want to support them. And they're one of the few games, because of how much they give back, that I've ever been like, okay, I'm going to buy this thing that I don't really, this extra like DLC that I don't want. Not DLC, like cosmetic. Not because I necessarily want it, but simply as a way to give them money. And that's something I never, ever do because I like my money. I don't want to give it to other people for no reason, but they're one that I did. So Deep Rock Galactic Survivor came out. I went ahead and bought the supporter pack or whatever. It was still only like, I don't know, $10 or $11. Mm-hmm. It's in early access, only on PC right now. And it is an auto shooter. It's of the survivor genre, I guess, if there is such a thing now. Think Vampire Survivors, think, games like that. But it's set in the Deep Rock Galactic world. So you've got still all 4 different classes, the gunner, the scout, the etc. I can't remember all of them. That's why I said etc. And you've got all 4 of them, and it's more top down horde mode kind of thing. And each different character has their own strengths and abilities, and they can mine at different speeds. They can shoot at different speeds. They have different weapons. And they each have subclasses that you unlock as well, which is also something in the base, Deep Rock Galactic game. And the game is, if you're a fan of Vampire Survivors, you'll love it. If you're not a fan of Vampire Survivors, for the reason that you don't feel like there's enough strategy or enough to do, I know there are some people who think that. Mm-hmm. I think that Deep Rock Galactic Survivor is really appealing because I feel like every decision you have to make holds a little more weight. There's still the thing where you kill an enemy, some material drops, you pick it up, and then eventually you level up, and you have some options on which thing you want to level up. You can level up, your guns to have either faster reload or to have faster bullet speed, or it does more damage or something like that. Sometimes you get an option to upload your mining speed, which I'll go into the mining here in a second. Which makes it, easier to get away from enemies or easier to just mine materials. You have the option to after you complete certain objectives to unlock new guns, and you get to pick which guns those are. And of course, if you have a gun that's shooting one type of projectile, then the next gun you unlock, maybe you want to try out a different one, and then have a variety of ways to attack as you go. So each mission, the run through, you basically there's a bar that goes across at the top, and it shows you like when each different segment of the map will happen. So you go through, you have a horde mode where you're always fighting enemies, but occasionally like a bunch will come at you at once. And then you go a little further, and you have a supply pod that drops in the map, and you have to go find it and make sure that the landing area is all clear for it. And then sometimes and then eventually, there'll be several horde modes or hordes that come in. Swarm is actually what they're called. And eventually then, a boss for that map will unlock. And you have to take out the boss. Meanwhile, you're still dealing with all the other things. And you can't just run around and kite them, because eventually the enemies grow stronger and they get faster, and you're still the same speed. So there's a lot of depth to it, for sure. The really interesting thing is sometimes, you're not just trying to survive till the end of the match, like in Vampire Survivors is the one most people are familiar with. You're not just trying to survive as long as you can. What you're really trying to do is complete different objectives and gather materials so that you can upgrade further as well. So you'll see the different materials around the map, go up and actually mine them. Each character has a different mining ability, a different way to mine, speed, etc., based on their class. And we'll just collect materials so that you can increase your overall stats for all 4 characters.
Okay.
Basically, like right after the main menu screen. And I really feel like it gives, like it's, when you're actually in the game, it's pretty much just left joystick the whole time. And I understand how that's not appealing to some people, but I feel like there's more of a level of strategy to this game as far as the types of things you're selecting, the types of material you're gathering, the sub-objectives that you're completing, that make it a blast. They've incorporated a lot of the lore, and there isn't really a lot of lore that you don't hear just through voice lines in Deep Rock Galactic, but they've pretty much incorporated all of that. They have recycled some of the voice lines from the base game to be present in this game as well. So you're hearing some of the same stuff, but it's in a different context, so it's still funny. It's got its sense of charm, etc. For right now, and maybe forever, I don't know, the game is only single player. And I feel like Deep Rock Galactic is so great because it's multiplayer co-op. Now, you can play Deep Rock Galactic by yourself. You can have a good time, probably. I like it with friends. I like to play the game, with a crew of people I know. Many people play it with people they don't know. There's good matchmaking, etc. But Deep Rock Galactic right now only has single player mode, and I'm hoping that that's something they'll add in the future is multiplayer, because co-op in Vampire Survivors is so great, although it's only the local as far as I know. But I think the Deep Rock Galactic, with having all 4 different dwarves run around, arguing with each other, bickering, like that's a lot of fun in the base game, and I'm sure that would only add to the fun in Survivor. So I've been playing a lot of it. I probably, since it came out, probably got like 25 hours into it, and I will say that it is great on the Steam Deck, which is where I got a lot of that time in. It's great on PC as well, and it looks beautiful. It's very simple, but it looks beautiful. But it's an excellent handheld game for sure. So yeah,
cool.
It's so much fun. I've been having a great time with it.
You were talking about doing kind of objectives on the map along with surviving. What are some of the things you're doing?
So it's similar. They're like sub-objectives. It's similar to Deep Rock Galactic, where you have to like gather a certain amount of resources. So sometimes they're like little mushroom-looking things called bolo caps. Sometimes they're a certain type of flower that grow in the mines. Sometimes it's a certain mineral that you have to get enough of. So once you complete those objectives, once you go around and they're scattered, they're random. Sometimes you'll see 5 of these little mushrooms in one spot, and sometimes they'll be totally gathered or totally spread across the entire map. So once you gather them, you get, you check off that objective, and you get a little reward of materials that kind of pop out of nowhere, and you get them. Yeah.
So you talked about mining and all that kind of stuff. Is there parts of the game, because I think about Deep Rock Galactic, and so much of it, what I remember is like digging through spaces or whatever.
Hmm.
and like making tunnels. Are you doing that in this at all or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So there's like a lot of rock or whatever on the map. It's not just kind of open.
Right.
You
Yeah.
can make little trails.
It's totally, it's totally dependent. It's procedurally generated, or at least I think it is, because I've played so much of it and not seen a map that looked exactly the same. So I'm pretty sure there is. It is. And there's 3 different maps right now. They're going to add more, as progress happens. But
Okay.
one of the cool things about it is, the enemy pathing, they basically take the shortest line to get to you. So if you make if you've got let's say you've got a big line of wall, of rock, and you make a hole through the middle of it, you can funnel all of them through that middle and either control the flow of them a little better, so you can run off and get some other minerals, or you can, there's certain characters that have a turret, and you can like set up your turrets, which just automatically place if you stand still. So again, it's very much an auto shooter, but if you stand still, you'll throw out your turrets, and as they funnel through that, you can just mow them down, essentially. It creates an interesting, strategy, because sometimes, again, you're not just trying to survive, you're trying to go out and mine these minerals, because, if you want to upgrade your reload speed, that's a certain type of resource, versus if you want to upgrade your critical chance, that's a different type of resource, etc. So it creates a dynamic where you have to decide, like, do I want to stay here and actually fight these guys, or do I want to try to craft the map in such a way that I'm funneling them through a point so that I can get a few extra seconds to go off and get this mineral or this resource. Yeah, so there definitely is that aspect of mining through walls, and I think it just adds to the different strategies that you can have. You can just try to survive, but there are not only the sub objectives that are stated in the main menu or in the game once you like load into the world. There are objectives that are stated, but there are also like sub objectives to go to the next difficulty or unlock the next class of your character, and that makes a big difference as well. I forgot to mention that instead of it just being like a single run, you just go out and you have a run. There are 5 stages, I think, to each mission you go on, and so they get increasingly more difficult. But you do each one. They're basically run around, gather resources, defeat the horde, defeat the boss. You extract. You go to the next one. You have a chance to like do some upgrades with the materials you gathered. You go to the next one, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and then you get to the last one. And so far, all the ones I've played all the levels, so I think they're all the same. You go around, and on the timeline, there's 3 or 4 different, depending on your difficulty, different like mini bosses that would normally be the bosses of the other stages, until a giant enemy comes out and you have to defeat it as well. And they have different types of attacks. They can dive at you, they can land on you, etc. So it adds a little bit more there too, because you're not just trying to complete a single run or a single map. You're trying to complete a whole run of maps in order to complete that mission.
That's cool.
Yeah.
This might seem kind of silly to people who haven't played Vampire Survivors or anything like that, but I gotta know, when you get like an item or something like that, is the dopamine hit good? Like in Vampire Survivors, for instance, when you open a chest and like all this shit starts flying out, all these colors and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's really important for a game like this.
It's not the same kind of dopamine, but it's there. You don't have the whatever the sound is that you get whenever you open a chest, but you're still like, increasing your radius that you can gather things. And then you're just, you run, it's kind of hard to explain. You run through like this whole area and you're dropping turrets or you're shooting behind you or whatever. And a whole bunch of guys are dying, but you can't go back through that horde. So then you got to make a whole circle around the map, run up through there, and then you just gather so many materials all at once. It's very similar to other auto shooters like that. Right. And the bar goes up super fast. You get an upgrade screen. Now the dopamine hit isn't quite the same. I do still think it is there, but no, Vampire Survivors, as far as like creating a casino like atmosphere when you get a chest that only has 150 coins in it, it's still there. Right. Or it's not quite there where Vampire Survivors is, but it still exists, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds cool. Locke, man, tell me about, are you interested in auto shooters like this?
Up until 10 minutes ago, I thought Ben was talking about Deep Rock Galactic. I thought that was the game he was going to talk about. So I had no idea this game even existed. because I would have bought it a long time ago. It sounds awesome.
It is.
Yeah.
I love Vampire Survivors. I put so many hours into that on Steam. So no, this sounds amazing. It's so stupid because I saw Ben play this a couple of days ago. I figured, why are you playing that? Wait, let's play Helldivers. Why are you playing like the other multiplayer game? But now I get like, oh, it's a completely different game. So that's my bad. But it sounds really cool. Yeah. I do have a question though, because you call it like an auto shooter, right? Like in Vampire Survivors. But is it still 3D? Is it still is it 2D? How do you move?
It's top down.
Okay.
Maybe it's not directly top down like Vampire Survivors is. It might be slightly more tilted. I have to actually look at that, but yeah, it's there's depth to it if that's what you mean. You know, it's not just sprites and pixels on a screen that are moving left and right. But
it's not like the I'm going to call it the original game, but it's not the original game.
No, it's not first person. No.
Okay. So it's completely different then. Okay, that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And is it like, because you almost make it sound like a tower defense game? Is that an accurate thing? Because in Vampire Survivors, you have to keep moving always, right?
Yeah,
but
you
here
definitely
it sounds
have.
like you could. Yeah.
You have to keep moving for sure.
Okay,
I suppose there are instances where you could, you know, if you had some turrets or you were really, you know, highly powered, you could stand there and just mow down a bunch of enemies. But again, like there is the objective of just killing enemies. But so much of the objective in this game is to gather those different materials. Because that's one thing about Vampire Survivors. It's like your whole mission is just to survive. And you get one currency and you upgrade with that currency and everything upgrades. With this, you have to have a little more thought about like, okay, well, I need this type of mineral. I have to go find it. I have to mine it. I have to do it in such a way that the horde doesn't come up on my back and take me out. So you could just stand there and mow them down if you could survive, you know, the throng of enemies. But for the most part, you want to keep moving all the time so that you can discover new parts of the map, which the maps are pretty small overall, honestly. But discover new parts of the map, find the different minerals that are out there and collect them. And I mean, so there's this whole run, you know, you've got the multiple mini bosses and then the big boss. But each run can take, you know, a fairly short amount of time. I think that unless you just totally fail at killing the end boss and just have to kite them forever or something, each of them, they're on a timeline. I don't actually know how long that is. I've never timed it out. But like the timeline keeps moving above you. And so, you know, that's fine on the earlier difficulties where it's like, okay, you got a horde, then you got a supply pod, then you got another horde, then you got the boss. Whereas on the last one, all these different, you know, mini bosses are in these eggs, and you can go up to the egg, you can destroy the egg, you can kill the boss before they would have ever spawned normally. But if you don't do that, then they'll pop out of the eggs automatically, and so you are on like a timeline, a time frame. So yeah, I wouldn't probably advise just like standing still because you're going for specific resources, but you could do it for sure.
That's awesome. And it's in early access now, you said, right?
It is, yeah.
How much of it is done?
There are 3 worlds, and there are 4 different characters, just like in the base game or the original game. 4 different characters. I think each right now has 3 different classes that you start with the first class on each. Well, you start with 1 character, 1 class, and of course you unlock different characters. Then you unlock different classes by using them. There are 3 different levels, all of which are, you know, infinitely repeatable, of course. And I think they set a number of how many worlds they wanted to have or how many different maps, environments, I guess is the word for it. I don't remember what that is, but they definitely said there will be more coming and stuff like that. So I will say it's in early access. The only real issues I've had with it, I think it feels like a complete game, but occasionally you'll go into a menu and like a little thing will pop up and it says like placeholder text or something like that, but it quickly vanishes. Like it's just a little delay. That can probably be fixed easily in a quick patch, I would imagine, if they know what the problem is. But it feels like honestly, it feels complete to me. But they can definitely keep building on it, keep adding in new stuff. Hopefully someday add co-op, stuff like that.
Nice.
Yeah, if that's their vision. I don't know if they want it to be a co-op game, but I think it would be fun as a co-op game.
Yeah,
awesome.
they could easily. I think they'll add that down the line or something like that. I don't know about 4 players, but that'd be sweet if they did.
The maps might be a little small for 4 players, honestly.
Yeah. But I'm looking at footage of it. It looks really fun. It's like it's like a little 3D, so yeah, you're right. It's not like sprites or anything like that looking or like
how's it doing?
Sprites.
How's it doing on Steam?
It has very positive reviews on Steam. Let's say that. Out of like 12,000.
Okay, that's good. That's excellent. Okay, that's great.
So,
Yeah.
$10.
Wow.
Yeah,
They've got that player base already built in, you know, with
that's
Deep
true.
Rock
They
and
do.
being
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, the amount of people who never heard of that game until it hit subscription, that's one of those cases that's like, this game was good, and then people discovered it through subscription services.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the ones that I think have really been benefited by it. And obviously, they've got a built-in player base that love the world, love the dwarves. The community for Deep Rock, by the way, is amazing. Anytime I go and look up a question for the original game specifically, I go and look up a question about the game, and you find a Reddit thread. Usually, Reddit's a total cesspool, and it's just like love and respect everywhere. You know, rock and stone. People just helping each other, no matter what. Throwing each other beer and game, that kind of stuff. Like anytime I've ever had to hop into like have a buddy, but we need 2 more for a game, something like that. Again, this is the original. Everybody who's always joined has always been super cool, and you know I've never experienced any trolling or team killing or anything like that. So yeah, the community is awesome, and I'm sure that you know the goodwill they engendered from the first game is probably going to propel them through this one too.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, it looks really fun. So I'll try to check it out sometime when there's not a million games to play.
Yeah,
it does look really solid. Maybe when it's like officially out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah, and again, I can't stress the text is a little small, as it is with most games on Steam Deck. But this is the perfect game to like, you know, you're laying in bed or you're on the couch or whatever, and you don't want to sit at your PC or at a console, and you just have enough time for one run, you know, 10 minutes, whatever. It's perfect for that. Perfect for handheld, for sure.
Nice. Awesome. All right, guys. Next game. Penny's Big Breakaway. So this is I've been playing this. This is a 3D platformer by, what's their name? They're called Evening Star, the developer. This has some of the guys, or at least one of them, worked on Sonic Mania, which was a really great 2D Sonic game. One of the best Sonic games, I think, around.
Yeah.
But yeah, they decided to take a shot at 3D with a whole new character. And this game really reminds me of a 2D Sonic game. Kind of, this is hard. I'll get into it more, but a 2D Sonic game brought into the third dimension. Because I think about Sonic Adventure, and it was definitely like a little more free roam. There's some stages, but you're definitely wandering around and stuff like that. But this is all stages like the old Sonic games, the worlds and stuff like, you know, the first world, there's like 4 stages and you go through it kind of like that. But yeah, you are this character named Penny. Her main thing to use through the game is a yo-yo, actually. So that's very 90s right away. Reminds me of Ness and all that stuff. Of course, with the yo-yo, you can hit guys and all that stuff. But what's really cool about the yo-yo is it's used for like a lot of your movement too. Now, Penny can like run normally and jump. But with the yo-yo, you can ride on it, kind of like it's almost like Sonic Spin Dash has Spin Dash. You can kind of go into it whenever you want by pushing circle. You can also kind of charge it up like a rev it, almost like the Spin Dash in Sonic 2 and all that kind of stuff. And it also kind of reminds me of a manual in Tony Hawk. So, but what I mean by that is when you're like, let's say you double jump or something like that, you can land on it while you're really already moving. So you could kind of chain together little combos and stuff like that to keep a lot of the flow momentum going. That's a huge part of the game is flow. With your yo-yo also, you can double jump, and you can also do this really cool thing. If you hold square, she'll like do a little swing, almost like a pitfall swing with it. So you can get some nice extra movements. So you can do like a double jump and do the swing. Kind of reminds me of Mario Odyssey, is like a hat throwing. Kind of reminds me of that. You can like bounce off it. Nice. So that's really great. Let's see. So with your yo-yo, your basic yo-yo, of course, you can like smack stuff and all that kind of things. But there's power-ups for the yo-yo also, which is you got to have a power-ups in a 3D platform in general. One of the power-ups you get is like you can break some rocks and stuff like that, some structures if you need to get some items, or you can use the yo-yo to like be invulnerable, so you can ride up like lava or things like that. But like there's enemies throughout the game, but like the biggest enemies I would say are these like little penguin guys. So scattered throughout the level, there's little penguins that are going to try to get you. Now these penguins, what they do is they don't like necessarily just hit you like a normal enemy. What they all kind of jump on you and weigh you down. And you can, if you get one on you, you can see like a little graph or like an image showing how many penguins are on you. If you get to a certain amount, it's like game over. You get weighed down, you're done. But with these penguins on you, you can kind of shake them off a little bit. If you like jump around, you can knock them off, or you spin around with your yo-yo, you can knock them off. So they definitely hinder you, not in the sense of like life, what I was saying, but in your momentum, which you'll definitely feel a lot in this game because, like I said, it's all about speed. This game is a total speedrunner's paradise, I would say. People are going to get crazy with this game. But yeah, there's I don't know how many worlds are, but I think I'm on the 4th world. But the game is very bright and very vibrant, colorful. It's very pleasant to look at. The soundtrack is really good. I really like it. I think it's very upbeat. Like I said, reminds me of 2D Sonic a lot. The first world is just it's called Vanilla Town, but it's very bright pastel colors. Very kind of just like a really jolly game. It makes you feel good when you're in that world. So I really like that. There's a couple boss fights too. I've only done like 2 of them. One was just like there's these screws in the level that are in the ground, but if you spin around with your yo-yo, it'll kind of lift you up and it'll help you get up to a higher ground to smack the enemy and stuff like that. And that was the first one. The second one was a little cooler though, because he was like this multi-headed freak guy. And what you do is you're fighting like on a giant pool table, and you would knock his heads down, and the camera would shift perspectives like to a top down. So you'd have to hit all of like his heads into pool holes or whatever like that. And once you hit one into there, it's locked in there. So you have to hit a different one. But he would put down like obstacles, like fences almost, to keep you from just knocking it easy. So you'd have to kind of hit it around. Kind of reminded me of Busted Move, which I really thought was sweet.
Yeah.
There's also these kind of bonus levels that really remind me of, I don't know if you guys played Mario Sunshine. But there's those like levels you would go to where you lose the flood pack and all that. So you just pure Mario platforming. They kind of remind me of those. Like you still have your yo-yo, which is important. But they're just like little challenge levels, and they're much more tough, I would say, to get through. Like, but they're really fun. Like one of them is really focused on using your yo-yo to grab onto stuff and like strings to pull you down and launch you up into the air, making sweet jumps and all like the very timing one specifically because. Yeah, there's not a lot of room for error in these stages, which I really appreciate. Some harder challenges. But yeah, it's a very, I guess, just straightforward and simple game. Just classic 3D platforming. Not like, if you're thinking of 3D platforming, you might think of like Banjo-Kazooie or Mario 64, where you go into the stage and you complete objectives in the stage. This is all just straightforward, going through the levels, that classic Sonic flow, which makes sense since they made Sonic Mania. So I think if you'd like Sonic Mania, you'll have a really good time with this game. I don't think it's like incredible or anything like that. I haven't been like blown away by anything I've seen so far, but it has been really solid, really fun.
Is there a story?
Yeah, there's a kind of like a story. From my understanding, there's a story at the beginning. I believe you're this. You're at this kingdom, and the king or the emperor is trying to get you arrested. So the whole thing, the penguins are his minions, and you're trying to run from them and all that stuff. I'm trying to think. I'm like, I was confused if she was like a bard or like an entertainer or something like that at the beginning. I'm not quite sure.
I didn't realize this had any connection at all to any of the Sonic games. And I remember I was watching you play this on stream the other night, and I looked at it, and I had seen the trailer before that, but I remember thinking, like, this looks like Sonic vomited.
Yeah.
Like the gameplay is reminiscent of Sonic, obviously, but it's very bright and colorful. And yeah, so it looks intriguing to me. The platforming aspects, though, it doesn't seem like it's super challenging, but that's just me watching it. That's not me playing it.
Right.
Is it a tough platformer?
It's not like super tough. Like when you die, you just get sent back to a checkpoint.
Yeah.
You're not like thrown really far back. The bonus levels I was talking about were a little more challenging. You have to unlock them though by collecting the currency, which I don't have a ton of. Yeah. So I'll see how crazy they get. It's not like Mario, whatever, 3D World final level or Wonder final level, something like that yet.
Right.
I hope it gets to that spot, but it's been enough where I have to definitely like think about it.
Nice.
I'm not like on autopilot the whole time. And a lot of the satisfaction has been keeping momentum going when you're doing stuff. Because in the levels too, there's some bonus objectives. Like one of them in the levels, there was this giant frying pan and there's butter in the middle. And some guy's like, hey, can you melt all the butter on this frying pan? So I had to like tilt the frying pan as it's going around while penguins are trying to get me and the butter's slowly shrinking. So you get rewards from that. One of them's like, hey, take this item and bring it to this guy throughout the year, but don't get hit stuff like that. Just small little objectives that you could do if you want to get everything out of it, but you can totally ignore them if you just want to get through it.
Yeah.
That sounds a little bit like A Hat in Time. You ever played that?
Yes, I did like Hat in Time actually a lot.
Yeah, I love that one too. Is it similar or not at all?
No, Hat in Time was a little more open, I would say, in some of the levels, like a little more Mario 64-esque, where you're like really kind of like exploring this environment. This is like more just straightforward kind of going.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool.
Cool.
Nice.
I'm digging it. I want to play more of it. And I'm curious to see how it'll shake up and where it'll land. But, I always like seeing 3D platformers, so I am happy to get
absolutely.
more.
Was this announced before the Direct? Like, was it on anybody's...
I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I had never seen it until that.
It was kind of a little more low profile, I guess. But yeah, pretty sure it existed.
Nice.
The Office Ball Z wrote in, Penny's Big Breakaway is an absolute treat. The momentum of Sonic plus the movement possibilities of Mario Odyssey plus the controller feel of Ape Escape. And I love the crayon aesthetic of the environments. Please tell me you're all loving this. Yes, Office Ball Z. I'm having a good time. It's not one of the best platformers I ever played. I'm not going crazy for it, but it's good. And I'm having a lot of fun playing it.
Cool.
Nevets also wrote in, hello, dudes. I bought Penny's Big Breakaway the moment it came out, but I'm having trouble enjoying the game. Like, I enjoy speedrunning it, but just playing normally is not very much fun to me. Didn't help that I found lots of glitches in the beginning area, like large gray tubes appearing when spinning while balancing on an edge. Whoa. I will continue, but I'm sad that this is kind of a letdown right now. I hope more time with it will help me enjoy it. Hope you're all having a better experience than I am. Yeah, I'm having a bad experience. I haven't run into any glitches that I've noticed, which is nice. I don't know what platform you're playing on, Nevitz. I'm playing on PS5, so I'm not sure, but hopefully you'll enjoy more of it as you go on.
Nice.
All right, Locke. You have been a defender of this game.
Yes.
And the hate.
Final Fantasy VII.
That's right. Yes. A game that's gotten a lot of hate, but I've heard some people say some good things about it. Talk to me about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League.
Well, this game, there's been a murder. And it's not in the game. It's outside of the game. Because every single outlet or YouTuber or whatever tried to kill this game. Which is very unwarranted, I think. I thought, look, it's not an Arkham game, right? Like, it's made by Rocksteady, so I know people were hoping for it to be like a continuation of the Arkham universe, which it is, but not in the way that they wanted it to be, of course. But it is a really fun game. Yeah, fun is the perfect way to describe it. It doesn't have like the heavy emotional beats of like Batman Arkham Knight or Batman Arkham City or Asylum, but it does have some emotion to it. It's not just like some golly-wolly, funny little side story in Metropolis. It's a really... the way it starts, like you just get dropped into it. Like you don't really get a tutorial. You don't really, well, I guess the beginning is a tutorial, but you don't really get any setup. You're just dropped into Metropolis. You play as one of each 4 characters. You play them for like 10 minutes to see which one do you like best. And then you're just dropped into it. Like, here you go, start killing mobs. And then gradually, after that first introduction, then you get fed the story. And the story is very bare bones. It's basically just like Brainiac took over Metropolis, brainwashed the Justice League, go kill them. That's the entire story. But they didn't brainwash Wonder Woman.
Right.
That's the one member of the Justice League who he didn't brainwash. So Wonder Woman kind of becomes your anchor throughout the game. She kind of becomes like your emotional connection to this game. Because the 4 characters you play as are, of course, bad guys, but they're really bad. They're really portrayed as being assholes, all 4 of them. But that also makes it kind of funny, of course.
Right.
I don't know if I'm guessing either of you have seen the 2 movies of the Suicide Squad or played or read the comics maybe. It's basically like the second movie. The first movie was atrociously bad, but the second movie had some really funny moments. And the story in the second movie was also neglectable, but it was still serviceable to the movie itself. And the same goes for the game here. Like the game is really fun. It's really funny. It has some beats that are kind of shocking and some beats that are kind of move the story forward. But it also hits the right beats. Like it has great comedic timing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the last game I played where I actually laughed out loud was South Park: The Stick of Truth, and that's like a 10-year-old game.
Mm-hmm.
But in this game, even in the tutorial, I've laughed a bunch of times. There's this one. When I tell it, it probably sounds stupid, but there's this one moment. It's filled with these little moments, and there's this one moment where Wonder Woman pins, I think, Captain Boomerang down, and she stands on him. And look, off screen, you hear Harley say, "Ooh, step on me next." It's just these stupid little weird little jokes that really hit when you least expect them. But I think the main positive thing I can say about this game that it has the best traversal I've ever played in a game. It's better than Spider-Man 2. It's better than yeah. It's every character feels so distinct, even though most of the reviews that I've seen or heard about told people that wasn't the case. I think that really is the case. Like every character, maybe not in the combat, but in the way they traverse, feels really different. The shark jumps up really high and can jump really far. Captain Boomerang throws his boomerang and then you kind of have to blink to it, like in Dishonored. Harley is the least fun because she's like a Spider-Man with Down syndrome. Like you shoot up. Sorry. You basically shoot up what's it called? Like a rope,
a grappling hook.
A grappling hook.
She has,
yeah.
Like a little drone, and then you very slowly swing from point A to point B, and you can dive like Batman and go back up, and you always have to call back the drone. So that one is not really my favorite, but they're all pretty fun to play.
The drone's automatic though, right? You don't have to. Yeah. You have to call it.
No. No. It's always there. It's always there. Okay. So she's also pretty fun. And then the game itself reminds me a lot of Crackdown or Sunset Overdrive, or even of Spider-Man. The city itself, Metropolis, we've never, or at least I don't think we've ever seen it in a modern game. We've seen it in older games, of course. But I don't think we've ever seen it in a modern game. And it's a shame because most of the time, basically all the time, you spend outdoors. Like you hardly ever get to enter the buildings. But the city was really made with care. Like you really have like a couple of points of interest that are very interesting to see. Like you have the big Superman statue, of course, but you also have the Lex Luthor Bank, or you have like these little buildings that you know from movies and comics and other mediums that are placed there. You can't enter them, but they're there. And there's also a lot of verticality. So it's not just like in Spider-Man, you also have a lot of verticality, but you just have buildings and that's it. You have buildings and you have the street and that's it. While here you have bridges, and under the bridges there are not really open sewers. And then you have like highways that go up in the sky, and then you have other buildings that cross it. And the city is really, I was telling my friend the other day, the city is, I wish there was another game in this city that you could actually explore. This city would be amazing in like a GTA game, for instance, or like something like that, or a Saints Row game or something like that. That's another good example of what it reminds me of. It reminds me a lot of Saints Row 4. I don't know if you've played it. That's where the aliens invade and you have these weird superpowers. It's essentially the same game, really. It's the same kind of story too. And then the live service elements that everybody complains about are completely negligible. Like they're not really there. Like you don't really have to interact with them at all. You get new guns, but the shooting is always basically the same. You can upgrade your guns a little bit. You can upgrade your armor a bit. But that's not really what the game is about. Like the game is more about the traversal and working together with the rest of the team to get where you have to go. The co-op is also really fun. Like I played a couple of games I played a couple of chapters with Jimmy where we had to kill. This is a spoiler, but I mean everyone knows what you have to do in the game.
Sure.
So we had to kill Green Lantern. So we did that together, which was really fun, which was awesome. And then I think what people complain about the most, and it's another spoiler, of course, but I'm okay with saying this, I guess, is that at some point you have to kill Batman because he's also in the Justice League, right? And I saw a lot of people complain about this, that it wasn't, it didn't do justice to Kevin Conroy, and it wasn't done in the right way. But I completely disagree with it. I thought it was that was the one moment in the game. Well, there's two moments, but that was one of the moments that really got to me, because that was my Batman. That's our Batman that we played so many games with. And yeah, they kind of unceremoniously take care of him, but that has some beauty in it, I think. Of course, it's a shame that it's his last game. But that didn't really bother me. I thought it was done in a really, really strong way. And I also don't think this is the end of the Justice League or the end of the Arkham universe as we know it. I'm pretty sure, because it deals with multiverse bullshit like all the movies these days do. And all the comics do. So I'm pretty sure at some point they'll bring them back, or, you didn't really kill the real Justice League or whatever. So all in all, this game really caught me by surprise. It's nowhere near as good as the Arkham games, but it's also nowhere near as bad as some people claim it to be. I would give it like a strong 7.5 out of 10, but we need those games. Like there's hardly any games that are like that these days.
Yeah.
And I think the co-op is also, like, I get it, because it's a live service game, right? And people love to shit on live service games, with completely justifiable. But you don't really notice that it's a live service game until you get to the end boss, and that's when it kicks in. So that's live service done right. At least I think so.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Ben.
No, that's all right.
Played it too.
No, I haven't.
I thought you played it. Never mind.
No, so I played the I guess it was the closed alpha.
Right, that's it.
Yeah, and as a little tangent, I don't know how you can have an alpha through 2 months before the game releases and expect people to believe it's actually an alpha. But anyway, so I played it, and first of all, I love superhero stuff. I particularly like that. Marvel's my baby, but DC was my childhood baby. Like that was where I was at as a kid. And I really I want to play this game, and I had a lot of fun in the alpha with a few caveats. Like I thought the traversal was amazing. I thought the moment to moment combat was a lot of fun. My problem with it, at least in the 3-ish hours I played of it, was they never just let me play the game. It was like and maybe this opens up later, but like in between every mission, it's like, okay, here's a really long story and a pretty good cutscene. Go out and do this mission. And you're like, okay. And you spend, 2 minutes getting there, and you get there and you do the mission real quick. And it's like, great. Okay, here's 10 minutes of explanation and dialogue and cutscenes. And then you could do it again. You're like, all right, I'm really going to explore. I'm going to actually go check out this awesome city that they've made. And you go, and then like some of your teammates go ahead of you, and the world starts closing around you and forces you to get there faster to where they are. And so my problems with it were that there was never really enough time to like see what was there to explore. And maybe that was because I had people going ahead of where I was. But this is a game I really want to play, and I think it's a lot of fun. It's not a game that I wanted to pay $70 for. My fear right now, and maybe you can speak to this a little bit, is this seems like a game that, it's going to be always online. Maybe they change that in the future. I don't know. And it's obviously a co-op game, but I'm worried that once I finally get around to it, once it drops down to that $30 price point or something where I'm willing to get into it, nobody's going to be playing it because there's already nobody playing it, or they're going to have it taken. It's going to be taken offline and not accessible. And I'm just like, this seems like a game that, okay, I don't want to pay $70 for it. I'll wait for a price break, whatever. But is it even going to exist by that point? And that kind of sucks. Like that sucks to me.
The game is essentially dead.
Yeah.
Like nobody's. I think it's below 1,000 players on Steam. I bought it both on Steam and on PlayStation 5 because it has cross progression and crossplay.
That's good. And you're a sucker.
And I'm an idiot. Yeah. But yeah, it on Steam it's dead. It's basically dead. Nobody's playing it anymore.
Jeez.
Which is such a shame, because it's not I guess it is the game's fault. It's the marketing's fault, but it's mostly. I think a lot of people. I talked like in the LSM Discord, for instance. There's a lot of people who were shitting on it, rightfully so. I get it. Like all the reviews said it was dumb, so it looks dumb, so it has to be dumb. But like Ben said, I think the alpha or the pre-beta or whatever the hell they called it, I think that maybe gave people the wrong impression. Because Ben, like you said, like what you just said, right? Like with the cutscenes and stuff, that doesn't really happen in the game. That's maybe the first 2 hours, and
Right.
after that,
Yeah.
you just get set loose in the city where there are like a dozen free flow missions you can do.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
that's one of those things where it's like I'm sure this opens up eventually. I'm
Yeah.
basically playing an extended tutorial right now. I get it, but
yeah.
like I think you're right. It just kind of gave that bad impression to me.
Mhm.
Yeah, but not just to you, to everyone, I think. And that's where the game, or where the marketing department of the game really faltered. Like, they should have never done that beta. Like, they should have never I think if they released this game without all the nonsense around it, it would have done much better. But you can't do that. I get it, because it's like a huge game. It's like a big developer, a big studio. So they couldn't really do that. But I think I follow some of the developers on Twitter, and I feel really bad for them, because they know they worked hard on this, and then they see all this bullshit from like people who clearly haven't played it, even outlets or big YouTubers who clearly didn't play it and who clearly are spreading like wrong information, and they just have to sit there and swallow it and just, I guess, laugh at it because they have no choice. But that's going to be so disheartening for those people, because they made a pretty fun game, which is not easy.
Yeah. I haven't played the game yet, but it definitely reminded me of Sunset Overdrive in a lot of ways, like the movement particularly.
Yeah.
I guess, Locke, my biggest problem with the game, like I said, I haven't played it, but combat-wise, everyone kind of looked the same. Everyone's just shooting at guns like that.
Yeah.
Which is, like, I understand it's a live service thing, you got gear and all that kind of stuff, but I think back to Arkham, and I liked a lot of the hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah.
Do you think this game could have used some of that?
Yes, I think the problem, the combat isn't really about the combat. It's how you get to the enemies. It's all about the traversal.
Okay.
So it's the combat, like you said, everybody has the same. Well, there's some diversity in the guns, but it's mostly about how you get to the enemies. Like, the enemies are behind barriers, or the enemies are up buildings, or the enemies basically run away from you because you're gonna fuck them up. So the whole point of the game is getting to the enemy and then unleashing your fury on them, because you're very powerful. So you have, just like in Helldivers, really, you have like a couple of difficulties you can switch between, and then the higher difficulty, the bigger the reward you get, like the bigger crafting bullshit you get and stuff. So if you put it on the highest difficulty, the enemies are tougher, but it's mostly harder to get to them, because they're like bigger, or they jump away, or there's like snipers who like blink away as soon as you get to them. So you first got to stun them before you can get to them. And there's all these little mini combat scenarios you have to take into account. So the combat isn't really combat. It's definitely not comparable to the Arkham combat, which is the best combat out there. I mean, there's nothing is going to be able to top that. Yeah. So I would maybe compare it more, like to Sunset Overdrive, Crackdown, Spider-Man for sure. Even though Spider-Man also has that hand-to-hand combat from the Arkham games, of course. But yeah, it's mostly about the traversal, even in the combat. Yeah.
Okay. Important question. As King Shark, would I be able to bite someone?
That's a good question. I mostly played as Captain Boomerang. I love Captain Boomerang. I played as King Shark. I think your melee, I don't think there really is like I could be wrong, but I don't think there really is a biting animation, because your melee is just very strong. You punch them up.
Damn.
So I don't think there is one. Yeah.
Let me bite someone as King Shark.
Biting is where it's at.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. You also have like Deadshot. I think Jimmy loved playing as Deadshot, which is cool. But Deadshot is basically like you just shoot. Like you're just
flying around shooting.
Yeah. He has like a jetpack that's really cool, and the whole game is mostly about traversal. I wish they somehow marketed that way, or somehow made it clear to people that that's what the game is about, because it's so much fun. Like, I can explain it a million ways, but it'll never come across the way it should be. Like, you have to play it. It's so much fun to actually play it.
So I haven't played this, but I did play Gotham Knights or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And so that also kind of had like some live service kind of vibes, in the sense of you're doing like side objectives and getting loot. Yeah. And it got really boring, I would say, very quickly. And the loot progression and like loot upgrading was very boring. Is it more engaging in this game, would you say, or is it engaging at all?
No. But again, that's because the combat isn't about that. If the combat was about that, then it would be the most boring game ever. But that's not really what the combat is about. Like, Gotham Knights was really boring because of two things, right? It had a boring story, and it had boring combat, and it had boring traversal. That's like three bad things. While this one only really has boring combat. Like all the other parts are really good, and the combat doesn't really exist because you use a traversal to get there.
Mhm.
But yeah, Gotham Knights, I guess the same thing kind of happened to Gotham Knights with the reviews and stuff, and it basically got destroyed that way too. But in that case, it was kind of justified. At least I think so, because that one really didn't have anything to offer to people. Well, this game really has some things to offer to you that no other game does.
Cool.
At the moment, anyway. At the moment.
Okay. That's good to hear, at least, though. What are kind of some of the side objectives you're doing throughout Metropolis?
Well, there aren't really side objectives. Like the side objectives are more combat. So there's not really a branching storyline or branching side quest or characters you meet. It's very linear. You just basically go do this, go do that, use this character to kill 20 enemies, and you get more XP.
Okay.
So it's not like Lex Luthor or somebody else gives you a side quest to go do this. The side quests are basically little dots on the map that tell you you have to kill 20 enemies.
To me, that sounds kind of disappointing when I think back to some of the Arkham games, like, Saz or whatever, who are on the telephone and stuff like that, or Man-Bat flying around.
Definitely, yeah.
Dang, there's really nothing like that?
There are some smaller quests like that, but it also kind of makes sense story-wise. Like the city is basically overrun by Brainiac. Like everyone is brainwashed. So story-wise, I mean, that's a lame excuse, I know. So that shouldn't really count. But story-wise, it kind of makes sense.
Okay.
That there isn't really all that much to. There are some little moments. I don't want to spoil. There are some little moments that are there, but they're really. Like they're nothing like in the Arkham games. Like you don't get a call from Zaz or something. No, there's no little cool little moments like that. Absolutely not. No, there are some cool Easter eggs, of course. Like in the city itself and in the buildings itself, there are really cool Easter eggs. When you start the game, you started in the museum. I don't remember what it's called. I think the Justice League Museum or something, some name like that, where you basically get to hear the backstory of what happened through holograms from Batman and Flash and Wonder Woman, which is pretty cool, which is really awesome. And that got me really engaged into the game. So I thought, there's going to be more like this, but there really never was. The other really cool thing, that's the last thing I'll say about it, but I thought that was so cool, is that you basically get stalked by Batman.
Yeah.
Until you kill him. Like you can see him off in the distance and you can hear him like haunt you on the radio or discuss stuff with Flash or Green Lantern about how bad you guys are. And then you look into the distance and you see him like... and he goes up in smoke.
That's really cool. I do like that. I didn't know that. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
James Hill wrote it. Howdy, my fellow summoners. Suicide Squad just had one of the quickest games of a service deaths I've ever seen. The whole games of a service genre feels like crypto or penny stock. Any random one could, I don't know how you would say this term, 100x or 100 times. It's like a financial or some term I'm not familiar with. And if you pour enough resources into it, you'll be set for life. More likely than not, it's going to implode and you'll lose everything. Why do publishers keep chasing games of service? Do they really think risking $300 million and an entire studio is worth the smallest of percentage chance of being successful? Keep blasting George Washington's bussy. Thanks, James. So this game's interesting. I feel like this game came out 2 or 3 years. I'd say 3 years too late. For the live service trend. I think if it did come out, it was originally supposed to be a 2022 game when they first announced it. I think it might have been looked upon more favorably. But at this point, with all the delays and COVID and all that stuff, it really hurt its time, and people are really burnt out on live service games, I'd say.
You say that, and that's funny that you say that, because we're all playing Helldivers 2 now.
Yes, but the thing is about Helldivers 2 is it's $40. And a lot of people will look a different or be way more okay with that, I would say.
That is true. That's true.
Like if let's say if, Suicide Squad was $40, I would have bought it just because I'd be like, not too big of a risk.
Yeah.
But I will say the reason I didn't play it right now is I do want to play it is just because it came out at a crowded time for me. Yeah. So I just haven't gotten around to it, but
it's true.
I would like to play it. But what do you guys think? Why do they keep chasing games as a service? I would just say they just see the success of other companies. Why they did this to Rocksteady, I'm not sure. I don't know whose choice it was to do this. I wouldn't say they were the best studio for it, maybe. But what do you guys think?
I think it is that same, that they talked about crypto in that question. I think of slot machines or gambling or something like that. And yeah, it's a gamble. You know that the odds are technically against you, but if you hit, you're gonna big time. And I think that's it's a trap. Sure, casinos are a trap, but are they still fun? Do we still like them? Do we sometimes still hit big and make money? Yeah, it happens. It's not likely, but it happens. And I think I don't actually know the stats. I'm just making this up, but it seems like for every AAA game that's made, you also have a small chance of success. There are plenty of AAA games or especially AA games that come out and they spend $100+ million and they don't make any money at all and they die. Mm-hmm. And then with a game like that, you don't have a chance with a single player linear whatever game. You don't really have a chance to go in and redeem it. With Suicide Squad, they could make tweaks, they could make adjustments, they could catch more on the back end. If they sell 1 million copies, but only 50,000 people keep playing it, those 50,000 people, maybe they'll keep dumping money into it, and that sustains it for a little longer. So I think it's almost like that. Well, the odds are against us, but if we hit, we're going to hit big. Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the reasons is that it is that calculated risk, I suppose.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah. And honestly, once you get so far into a project like this, it's kind of hard to go back on it. And who would think that Rocksteady might not make a great game? No, none of us would have guessed that, right? Especially not a great Batman or DC game. So I think this one was very much the odds are against us, but still slightly in our favor. I just don't think that's how it ended up being. And I think the landscape right now, if there wasn't anything to play for a 2-month period and they could have dropped it in the middle of that, I think this game would have hit way harder than it has. And like you said, it's $70. They'd come out at a little lower price. I think first price drop, people are going to see this game and be like, wow, that's not so bad. Look at, what was that awful game Forspoken last year?
Right.
Nobody liked Forspoken. First price drop hit. Hey, this game actually isn't so bad. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's a much different type of game. I'm not comparing it in that way, but I think the potential for it to pick up a second round of Steam, for it to hit Game Pass or something like that, and a bunch of people play it, I think that potential is there. I just don't know if they capitalize on it.
Yeah, I totally think that too.
I think that could have happened if Helldivers 2 didn't happen.
Yeah,
but now that we have, which is good for Helldivers 2, of course, and well deserved. Helldivers 2 is way better. It's a way better game. But yeah, why would you play Suicide Squad right now if you've got Helldivers 2? Like,
yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I hope, dude, if it comes to Game Pass or PS Plus down the line, that'd be a hell of a sweet pickup, man. That'd be amazing. I'd be so in for that, and it might help the game.
And they could get it for cheap too, I think.
Yeah. So I know there's like additional content like the Joker. They're adding the Joker, right? How does that kind of work? Like, if you're playing the Joker, does he have like a story you're doing, or do you just kind of go around the map?
I'm guessing it's just basically the same. I don't know. I have no idea because I haven't played it since I finished it. But I think the Joker, maybe he's already in there. No, I don't think he already is. Okay. I don't think he is. But the way I see it, because I don't know how else they're going to do this, is if they add new characters, you basically play the game again, but with the new character there. Okay. Unless they really add story elements to it, which would be cool, but I don't see how they could do that because you, at the end of the game, I'm not going to spoil it, but like I don't really see how they're going to do that. So that would be awesome, though. But yeah, you've probably seen the Joker they added, right?
Right, the Maddie Joker.
Yeah, that's another mistake. Like, of course, you gotta pick like your villains, right? You gotta pick like the big villains. But I wish they didn't pick the Joker because nobody was gonna like that anyway. No matter what they did,
especially as the first one. Like I get it because it's the Joker and he's a huge villain, so they want to put that up front.
Yeah,
but if you've played the Arkham games, it's a little confusing. But whatever, I guess.
Yeah, and then the other ones they're adding, they haven't really confirmed this yet, but you can kind of guess who they are. They're not really like the big hitters. So
okay. Got it. Julio Mendez wrote it. Hola, summoners. Seeing how far Suicide Squad has fallen off, do you think Rocksteady should try to salvage the game or just move on? Should they decide to stick with it? How could they fix it? What do you think, Locke? Should they move on? Should they continue at it?
I think it's really disheartening to say because it's not very nice, but I think it's too late to fix it. Like 800 people on Steam is just, you can't come back from that. Like,
right.
Look at what happened with Halo Infinite. Even though a lot of people are playing that now, they'll never get back to numbers they had at launch. And 800 people is like nothing, even compared to of course, nothing compared to Halo Infinite, of course. I don't see it. I don't know what they'll, maybe if they make it offline and put more story into it, but then you basically have to change the entire game. They're not going to do that. So
it's giving me big time Avengers vibes, like how they did support it for a while with new characters like that, but
definitely
wasn't enough.
And Avengers basically had the same issue, I think, because the story was pretty good.
The story, the campaign was all right. Yeah, it was all right. Yeah. But like once I did some of the online, the multiplayer, I was like, all right, I'm good, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I think games like this, games like Avengers, they'll last until they eke out the little bit of content they already had ready or mostly ready pre-launch, specifically with additional characters. But it's hard for me to see them continuing development on it. Do a little bit of work you need to do to get out the stuff you already had made and planned. But past that, it's tough to see.
Yeah, I hope everything works out for Rocksteady. I hope they get to keep going. I don't know what's gonna. I don't think they're gonna be shut down necessarily, but.
Well, Warner Brothers already stated that it underperformed.
Yes.
So that's not good. But I can't imagine that they'll just close down Rocksteady because of one.
Right.
One.
I don't think they can afford to yet.
No. What they should have done is like obvious, I think, to everyone. Like they should have released like these games, like they should have, like the movies, right? Like the DCEU. Like they should have made a Wonder Woman game and a Flash game and a Green Lantern game and made a Justice League game and then this game
lead up to it. That's the ideal, I always think. There is that Wonder Woman game being made still by the Shadows of War people. I forgot their names, but they've been working on that game for a while. We haven't seen it at all. So I'm curious.
It has the Nemesis system, right? That's going to be awesome.
That's the idea, which I do think is fun.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, definitely.
This is from Mitch Oroboko. Hey guys, big fan of you all. For those who have played it, what do you think is a reasonable price you would pay for Suicide Squad, if at all? Thanks. Love, Mitch. What do you think is a reasonable price? Now, I don't have a problem paying $70 for games. It is what it is. Locke, as someone who has completed the game, what do you think would have been a good price point to get people to even bite at it? To jump in?
I bought it on Steam and I bought it on PlayStation 5, so I'm not...
So
I'm
a lot.
$140.
Yeah, $140.
No, this is a game... I would pay $60 for this game. I think it's a fair price. You have really high-value combat, a 12-hour-long campaign, good cutscenes, good super high production value. So I think if you charge other games $60... people don't get mad at me, but if you charge $60 for Spider-Man 2, you can also charge $60 for this one. I think, but like you guys just said, it's too expensive. You think that's too expensive, so clearly that was the wrong price point. So you two probably have a better price point in mind.
Like I said, a lot of it was just timing for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure this is a very expensive game, and like when you play it, you can tell it's a very expensive game. I don't deny that kind of thing like at all. I think probably I understand asking for $70, and I think that's probably appropriate, like for how much they spent on and the effort they put into it. I just think it's not interesting enough for me to spend $70, especially the time it came out. Like if they put a price cut on it right now, I'd pay like $40. I'd pay $40 for right now, even with so much stuff coming out right now. Down the line, if there was nothing, like I said, nothing out, I would have bought it for $70. Because I do like Rocksteady, I do like that universe and all that stuff.
I think the biggest factor for me was the amount of other stuff I had to play when it came out. I don't know that sight unseen, I wouldn't have paid $70. I might have paid full price for it, but all the the warning signs, the fact I played the beta, alpha, whatever it was, I think that would have prevented me from paying a full regular price for it. If at release it had been $50, I would have definitely bought it. If now that it's out, if it's $40, I'm in. But again, it's just like, well, if it's this week, no, because I've got games to play. I've got games to play coming out.
Yeah.
But I think that you're right, Locke. Like, it's a 12-hour campaign. It's fun with your buddies or randoms or whatever. That's worth $40 to me easily.
Yeah.
At release, without knowing much about it, I think probably would have been a full price game for me. But even the people like you who say you love it also have things to say about it that I don't love. So I'm like, well, okay, then I wouldn't pay full price for it.
I also wouldn't say I love it because
Right.
maybe it sounds like I'm a staunch defender. It's not a great game. It's a 7.5.
Yeah.
That's completely fair. Why do you think it got delayed? Because remember like a year ago or 2 years ago, I can't remember. They showed like some of the gameplay and everyone was like, nope, that's not good. And then they went back and they changed it, but I have no idea what they changed.
Yeah, it's hard for me to say since I haven't played it. I'm not really sure. Maybe they cut down on some of the microtransactions, maybe, or some of the live service elements, maybe like the loot system. I'm not sure. I have no idea if anything was reworked or not. Really, maybe the game just needed more polish in general or something. I have no idea.
Maybe,
Yeah.
But it's hard to say. But yeah, I'm gonna play it someday. I'm looking forward to playing it someday. So I hope by the time I get to it, it's still live in some regard, where I can actually play it. Don't kill it quite yet, please.
Yeah.
But Locke, I do like your passion, like not passion, but I do like that you enjoy this game even with flaws. Like, to me, a 7 is a cool game. I like 7s.
Yeah, and it was
I think a 7 is a good game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was just well, we'll get to this later on.
Yeah. But it reminds me how you talk about this game. It reminds me how I talk about or Tokyo RPG Factory's games, even though they're not around anymore. Sadly, I did like their games a lot. They were all like 7s to me, most of them. Maybe the first one's higher, I Am Setsuna, but I still really like those games despite their flaws.
Yeah.
So it is cool.
Yeah, and it seems like we almost get no games like that anymore. Like everything these days has to be a 10 or a 5 or a 0.
A lot of people, and I understand there's so many games to play, so a lot of people only play the biggest games. It makes total sense to me. But I do like some of the smaller, maybe not the most incredible games, but there's still something cool about them. Games with a lot of heart.
Yep.
All right, boys. It's time for Sorted Out. This segment, we just talk about something that's bothering us in the game industry, company, video game, person, whatever. Do you guys have one? Anything come to your mind? It's okay if you don't have one. Don't have to feel forced.
I've got one. Both of my Keep It Up and my Sorted Out this week are personal to me. So I don't know if they're going to
that's totally
reach
good.
the full audience, but my Sorted Out for this week is Best Buy.
Oh, let's hear it.
Best Buy for a long time. I feel like when I was a kid, Best Buy was like, it's great, it's awesome. And then for a while, it was like, everybody hates Best Buy. Now I feel like the gamers, we love Best Buy again. You get the cool steel books, you get the, the amazing delivery dates. They're there on time most of the time. Best Buy is great. But I pre-ordered Final Fantasy VII Rebirth a while back. And I got it from, and I don't usually pre-order games. Right. Unless it's a game I'm positive I'm going to buy. If Final Fantasy Rebirth had been a 3 out of 10, I'm buying it and playing it on release. Like that's, I'm sorry, that's just, I'm going to. I don't care if it supports bad practices. I want to play this game. So I saw that they had the Best Buy exclusive Steelbook. So I'm pre-ordering it from Best Buy. Now, in fairness, I didn't pre-order this like forever ago. It was a couple months ago at this point. But I got it because I liked that Steelbook. I got it from Best Buy. And I started seeing like a bunch of people being like, oh, Best Buy canceled my pre-order, whatever, that kind of thing. And I'm like, oh, I'm safe. I'm good. Like mine's there. It's fine. Until a couple nights ago, and I get an email. Well, I noticed it said your Best Buy order has changed or something like that. And I look at it and I'm like, it looks like it's still there. And the Steelbook's gone. I'm like, what's going on? And so I hopped on the chat and I was like, hey, I pre-ordered this game from you. Because of the Steelbook. I noticed the Steelbook is no longer included on my order. Can you tell me what's going on? And they responded and said, yeah, we're sorry about that. We're actually going to go ahead and cancel the order because we're no longer able to fulfill the Steelbook. It's a week from release at this point. That Steelbook is only available at Best Buy. And from what I can gather from Twitter and Reddit and everything else, they're out of those Steelbooks. So now I'm not talking about the special edition Steelbook. That's a different one. I don't think it's as good a one. I just got the standard edition, just wanted the Steelbook. I did. That's what I wanted. And they canceled it with no reason other than that they couldn't fulfill it. I get it. Everybody, but I ordered it like months ago. Okay.
Right. That's way too long. Yeah.
So I'm going to say sort it out, Best Buy, you pieces of shit. I'll never get that Steelbook again. This game is one of my, most anticipated. It was a childhood memory of mine. Obviously, Rebirth's going to be different, but I wanted that Steelbook. If for no other reason than I clicked on the thing and pre-ordered it, which I never do, and I got it from them. So I'm not getting it from Best Buy. I'm just going to go to Target, save my 5%, get the regular game, and maybe I'll pick up a Steelbook down the road. But sort it out, Best Buy.
Yeah, that sucks, man.
Yeah.
What a bummer, man.
I know.
Jeez. Yeah, buying physical, I don't buy physical that much anymore just because it's so convenient digitally and space-wise for me. I don't have a ton of space for a lot of stuff. Like, I have tons of games that are, like, in a garage and all that stuff, but, like...
Yeah.
I do respect the physical, and I never want physical to go away. So it really bums me out when shit like this happens to people. Like, so close to the game being out too. That's like unacceptable, dude.
If it had been a month ago or something, and I'm sure eventually there's going to be somebody who buys the special edition. They like the special edition Steelbook better. They're going to have the Best Buy exclusive Steelbook, and I'll be able to pick it up from them for $10 or something.
Yeah,
I know that. Yeah. Okay, I'm not worried about never having it. But come on,
but it's still just annoying.
Yes.
You spend money for something and there's like, no.
It's like probably once a year at most, I'll pre-order a game at most. And this is the one that meant the most to me.
Yeah.
I hope so, Dad.
Damn, that sucks. Yeah. I also got standard edition. I looked at the deluxe edition. I was like, I don't need any of that.
Yeah. Like
$20 more. I was like, meh.
The art
I don't really
book's
care about
cool,
that.
but I don't.
Well, yeah, I got digitally. Yeah. I'm like, I don't need a digital art book.
Right.
Digital soundtrack. Like, what? Yeah. I'm on the internet already, dude. I can just look at all that immediately. It's like, here's this one random summon. I'm like, I don't really care.
Yeah, I'm going to play the game. I don't need the art. I mean, I know people I like art books. I have some art books.
Oh, yeah, I think art books are awesome. Like, physical art books, I think are great. Yeah. I love all that stuff. It makes total sense to me physically.
Right.
But digitally, I'm like, nah, no thanks.
I would have, if I had the availability to get the collector's edition with the Sephiroth statue. I don't know that I would have gotten it, but I would have considered it.
Yeah,
but that wasn't even an option to me. So.
It looks cool. Yeah. I was like that too, and I was like, I remember I pre-ordered the remake, like the insane, like First Soldier edition or whatever the hell it was called. And it came with Cloud on the bike.
Yeah, and
it was like $350. I pre-ordered it, then I was just like, yeah, I don't know if I need this. Right. I just canceled it because I was like, I don't know if I need this big ass figure of Cloud on a bike. It's cool, but it's really expensive, dude.
Yeah. I think you have two. I can see two figures of Cloud.
I do. You. Yeah. I have like a bigger one, and I have here. I'll show you it real quick, Ben. The viewers can see it at home. This figure is based off the artwork from the original game.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck, I have to buy that.
Yes.
Because they're making everybody now. I'm like, God damn it, dude. So I'd rather spend my money on this instead of, Insane Edition.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Lockmore,
what about you? Anything you need sorting from you?
Well, I just said we'll get back to it later, and here we are already. Because what I was saying earlier, these outlets like IGN or PC Gamer on Twitter, who are just farming negative engagement over the bodies of the games they killed, are really starting to annoy me. It really started in September with Starfield. Now, I'm not a huge defender of Starfield. I personally, I think it's Bethesda's weakest game, but PC Gamer mostly just kept reiterating the same articles about Starfield, about how bad it was and how nobody's playing it and how it's bad. And they kept doing it over and over and over again for months and months and months. And of course, people kept clicking on it because people kept defending Starfield. And I saw the same thing happening right now with IGN and Suicide Squad, with the only difference that nobody was defending Suicide Squad, sadly. But IGN just kept retweeting the same bullshit stories, basically, about Suicide Squad, even with stuff that isn't necessarily true. But they just kept doing it over and over and over again, in like a 2-week period. I think they retweeted like the same tweet like 20 times.
Dang.
Yeah, they have some quality people working at IGN, of course.
Sure.
Like, nothing against their reviewers, but a couple of them just went way too far with this game. Like, I don't know why they did that, or why they hate this game so much, or why they went this far. But a couple of them really got me questioning, like, why you clearly don't enjoy games, so why are you in this business?
Yeah, I think that's just like, they are an engagement-driven company. Like, they need clicks. That's how they survive. So I think a lot of that is something that worked. Keep going until it doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah. That's true. That's, of course, that's absolutely the case. But I would think, at least for me, I grew up on IGN. Well, grew up. I've been reading IGN ever since I was.
Probably read IGN at a point, stuff like
that. Yeah, I always thought, especially when Colin was still working there, that IGN was above that nonsense. And PC Gamer, to be frank, too. So it was really disheartening for me to see those two doing it. I understand it when Kotaku does it or when Polygon does it, but those two, I really wasn't expecting it to be this bad. And it really soured not only me, but a lot of people. Like, if you clicked on those, especially those Starfield tweets, like, at the beginning, people were, of course, like, going with it, like, oh, Starfield is bad, ho ho ho. But after a month or after a couple of weeks, every single comment was like, why are you guys doing this? Like, stop! Like, this is ridiculous. This is getting ridiculous. But like you said, it's they're farming engagement, and they have to. So sucks.
Yeah, it is a bummer. Like, I understand calling something out, but like, how much do you need to do it? I don't know. Luckily, we don't have to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful for that. Sorted out for me. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I'm in a very good mood this week, as you can probably imagine why. So it's hard for me to, I'm like not in a negative space at all right now. I'm just very excited. So we'll get into some of the write-ins about some sorted out. So let's hear from Billy B. Hello, boys. I have a sorted out for Helldivers. Currently, we're past 2 weeks since launch, and I still can't play the game due to some random bug that causes me to crash as soon as I load him on my PS5. This seems to be affecting a small amount of us, but I'm tired of being patient, and I like to play the product I paid for already. So, Arrowhead, sort it out. I think that's totally fair. Sort it out. That is a real bummer, Billy B. I'm sorry. I don't know. Small number of people. That sucks really bad, dude. Like, playing a game, not just being able to play it, everyone's having so much fun. It's like the Squidward meme, SpongeBob and Patrick running around outside and you're cooped up not being able to play Helldivers. That's a real bust. Hopefully they patch that for you soon.
Yeah.
This is from Not Your Mom. Sorted out games adding stores to their games post-launch. Tekken is adding the Tekken shop. I don't have a problem with the shop or the currency, but announce that shit before launch. I live in Japan, and I have both a US PSN ID and a Japanese PSN ID. I bought Tekken for my US account, but I play on my Japanese account. Tekken's matchmaking is determined from your PSN account region, not IP location. Okay. Stores that have their own currency are tied to the PSN account. So any content I purchase is stored on their servers, not the hard drive. Oh. So I wouldn't be able to access content I paid for on another ID on the same PlayStation console. Wow. I hope that makes sense, and it's a very rare problem, but companies need to sort this stuff out. If they announced the Tekken store and currency earlier, I would have just bought the Japanese version. I bought the US version because it was cheaper. Yeah, that does suck.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Investing in one thing and not being able to use it, that really sucks. Yeah, it would have been cool if they actually announced that. I remember, I don't like when games do that. And I understand why they do that, because they don't want reviews talking about it. Just come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Like, even small things like Resident Evil 4 adding those tickets you could buy later on to upgrade guns. It's like, it's not a huge deal, but it's like, did you really need to do that? did you really need to? Or like you could have just had that at launch? I don't know.
I'm sure there were games before this that did it, but the first game I can remember doing that, again, I'm sure there were games before it, but was when they redid Crash Team Racing.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That's the first game I can remember adding a store, and it was just, a battle pass after the game launched. And fortunately for that game, it didn't feel that bad because it was, it's a battle pass. It's purely optional, just cosmetics, but it felt like I was like, uh-oh. Like, if we're not going to know about microtransactions ahead of time, what's coming? And we've seen over the years since then what's coming. But yeah, that sucks just because you feel like you're getting duped a little bit.
Yeah, that does suck. Oh, I just thought of a sorted out for myself. Sort out to myself, all right, boys? So you can back me up on this.
Oh.
The drama around me saying Colin's name wrong.
Oh.
Colin, is that correct?
Yeah.
Colin. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think I just mumble it sometimes, and maybe they hear colon.
Anything with an "eh" sound is right to me. If you said colon,
Yeah,
that's not his name. But
yeah, Colin.
you want to stress out the I a little longer?
Call in.
Call in.
Call in. Call in. We're learning to read and pronounce, like speak today. We're back in kindergarten or preschool.
I think it's
Feels
probably
good.
only because Colin over the years has made such a big deal over people calling him Colin or Colin Powell, or like when Colin Powell was around.
Yeah.
Like that's probably the only reason people have pointed it out. But
Yes, I do know his name is Colin,
yeah,
but I have probably said it wrong, just misspeaking or something like that. But I do know it is Colin.
Locke says
So-
everything wrong, so we don't
Well-
mock him too much.
I speak English because it's the only language you know.
I know, exactly. I was going to say, well, he probably speaks more than one language.
He does.
So,
The other one's made up. I don't believe it actually exists.
that's true, yeah. That's true. But yeah, I'll try to pronounce that more clearly in the future. But I did see that clip, and Colin backed me up, just saying it was probably because of my accent or how I'm California, Southern California guy.
Yeah.
It's probably how I just used to saying it.
Sure.
But I'll never forget, viewers, what you wrote in, you
Sort it
sons
out.
of bitches. I won't let it go. This one is from Neo JD. Borderlands the movie. I love the franchise, but the movie looks bad.
Yeah.
Now, fellas, I don't know if you know this, but I was not a Borderlands fan. I would say a notorious Borderlands hater. Especially from 2 because of the memes. I thought the humor sucked ass in those games, and I never understood why people liked it.
I get that.
But that was a long time ago. I don't care anymore. Whatever.
Just real quick, I remember, I don't remember if I was watching it or listening to it. There was an Easy Allies podcast from back when that game came out, and I remember you were on it, and they were some people were talking positively. I don't remember who they were, and I just remember you being like, I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah, we did a video when we were at Game Trailers. We did like a little one-off video called like Defend It or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was me and Kyle Bossman.
Yeah.
And I was ranting about Borderlands 2 to him, and he had to defend it. And he didn't do a very good job, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
wow, was it that long ago that you were?
That was
still
a long
at
time
Game
ago.
Trailers, holy cow! Yeah,
that was a long time ago. It might have been that, but yeah. Of course, I was hamming it up a little bit for the video, but still, I don't care. Like, whatever. Borderlands is fine. I got no problem with you enjoying Borderlands. Just not for me. At least it wasn't. I haven't played it. I only played 2, really. And I know people love 2. Exactly. And I was like, I think I'm out.
Yeah.
It's not for me. But did you guys see
watch
this
the trailer?
Okay. It looked like Borderlands to me. Like, I don't know what to expect, like to expect from it. I was like, oh yeah, cheesy jokes, whatever, shooting shit. I was like, isn't that what Borderlands is? I have no idea though.
Well, they aged all the characters. Like, they're all really old now in the trailer. Like, I think Tiny Tina is suddenly like an adolescent girl. Well, she's not, but she's being played by an adolescent girl. Like, Jamie Lee Curtis is in there. who's that guy? The little black guy. I always forget his name.
Kevin Hart.
Like he's not funny. Yeah, that's the one.
He's not funny.
Yeah. Like he's in there, and there's a guy. I keep forgetting. There's a couple of more famous people in there, but the trailer really. But maybe you're right. Maybe it captivated the essence of Borderlands, and that's awesome. And maybe I just don't get it anymore. But to me, it was really. Oh, Jack Black is in there. Jack Black.
Yeah.
Plays,
Right.
Claptrap. It was just like, man, this is what these movies were like in the early 2000s. Like this is what these gaming movies were like back then.
Yeah, I mean, it's just someone who doesn't play Borderlands, and I don't know. I just was like, oh yeah, that seems like Borderlands from what I've seen on the outside perspective. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Apparently, Neo JD is a fan, so they're not feeling it. So must be doing something wrong.
I rarely watch trailers at all. Like if there's something I'm highly anticipating, I'll watch like one trailer. Or if I'm at the theater and they're playing trailers ahead of it, I'll watch a trailer. But for this movie, I was like, I don't need to watch the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna watch the movie.
Sure.
But like, that's fine. I'll just watch the movie. It's gonna be a movie. It's not gonna be.
Yeah.
If it's. I wasn't really hyped for the Twisted Metal show by any means. I didn't watch any trailers for it, except for I think there was one at the Game Awards or something. I watched the show. I thought it was great. It was totally irreverent. It didn't like destroy my enjoyment of the games. But
yeah, that's true. That was fun.
As long as it's just fun, it doesn't need to be good.
Yeah, sure. I see value in that.
Maybe it surprises. That's possible too. Maybe it's an awesome movie. Maybe it's funny. Maybe it could be.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like the movie to be good.
Right.
More good video game adaptations, I think, is great. So hopefully it's good.
There has to be something to it because they got like a huge famous cast. Like Jamie Lee Curtis, Kate Blanchett, Jack Black.
Well, it's a big franchise.
Yeah,
people love Borderlands.
Yeah, forget it. Kevin Hart, that's his name. Yeah.
Kevin Hart, yeah. Okay, guys, keep it up time. The exact opposite stuff we're pleased with. Who wants to go first? Who's pleased with something in video games? I mean, I can go first if you want. If you want to think about it.
Yeah.
All right, it's fucking Final Fantasy VII Rebirth coming out this week. As we're filming this, it's Monday. The game comes out for me Wednesday night at 9 p.m. I thought it was Thursday night. I just found out yesterday it was Wednesday, and I was like, "Holy shit!"
Nice.
I just got way more excited. So, I mean, I'm extremely excited. I've been looking forward to this game for a long time. Like Final Fantasy VII, if I had to say, like, I don't like saying favorite games. Like, I don't have like a favorite game, but the original Final Fantasy VII is definitely one of my favorite games. So, getting to continue the journey, and I like Remake a lot. So, getting to continue the journey with the crew and see whatever twists they got going, I'm super excited. And I can't wait to hop right in. So, keep it up, Square Enix. You're doing good with Final Fantasy right now. Final Fantasy is in a good spot, in my opinion. It's been in some dark times before. Mainly the PS3 area, in my opinion, but it's firing on all cylinders right now.
Nice. I'm very excited as well. Yeah.
You didn't get spoiled yet? Nothing?
No, don't tempt fate, Locke.
I have my notes here.
I know you do, you son of a bitch. No, dude. Not yet. Don't spoil me, please.
No.
Everyone leave me alone. I've got one.
Yeah.
Again, very personal and relevant to me. So I bought a Steam Deck from Dustin.
Yeah.
And good condition, great condition. The only thing was the one trigger was, a little bit soft. The R1 trigger was a little bit soft, and I didn't love that. And I was fine with it, whatever, until I saw, I was like, well, I'm not going to send this thing in. It's already, almost 2 years old, whatever. So I went and I was just like reading about a different issue somebody was having on Reddit. And somebody was like, "Oh, iFixit's great." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna go look at iFixit." And they had these triggers that I needed, the L1 and R1. I only needed the one, but for like $6.50, $7. They're officially licensed by Steam. Steam is like partnered with them, and I started looking around on iFixit's site. They not only have like Steam Deck stuff, they have, and I've known of iFixit before, like for phone screens. I fixed a buddy's phone screen one time. I think he bought the part from there. They've got stuff for everything. And not only do they have stuff for everything, they have like detailed guides with pictures. You can find stuff on YouTube, obviously, but it's nice to find like a detailed guide that you don't have to pause and unpause, whatever, for every part they sell. Now the only so my keep it up is for iFixit. That's great to have like officially licensed stuff for these things, because you can, sometimes you'll go on and you watch a YouTube video, they're like, I found this random part in this 5 generations old machine that works, whatever, but they've got like official stuff. The thing that sucks is when I did take it apart, because I was like, look, I wanted to see how that trigger worked, and I thought it was just the trigger. Actually, what it turns out, when I took it apart, there's a trigger on the inside that's attached to a daughter board that was actually just hanging there, like by friction or something. It was just hanging there.
Oh, wow.
So when I took it apart, that fell off. I was like, hey, no problem. I'll go buy the daughter board from iFixit. And they don't sell it. Apparently Steam has to do like some calibration. So that I did have to go and find a bunch of stuff, find a replacement part. I have to solder it on, which is going to be a whole trip in of itself. So that part kind of sucks. But so just to clarify though, Dustin did not sell me a dud Steam Deck. I'm just really OCD, and I was like, I want that trigger to click the right way. And turns out it was busted, but that's a very incredibly common problem that I guess they have fixed. They've moved them somehow on the OLED Steam Deck. But so to summarize, my keep it up is for iFixit, because that's a great. I'm sure they're making bank. It's awesome. So good. It's so good.
Yeah, that sounds like a great service. Yeah, very nice with all the pictures and all that stuff. That's very nice.
Absolutely.
Locke, what about you, dude?
Well, this pains me to say, really, but my keep it up is for people like you, Brad, for the disgusting weebs.
Yes,
and for a very good reason, because we'll talk about it later, so I'll keep this short. I'm almost at the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake, and it's one of the best games I've ever played. Now that I'm almost at the end of it. Not only that, but I'm really looking forward to Rebirth, of course. But I wanted to specifically give a shout out to a couple of the weeps in the LSM server.
Sure.
In LSM, there's this channel called the Weep channel. I think it's called
Weep Central.
Weep Central. That's it. And I go in there every other week just to make fun of them and shove them in a digital locker and just
put some Homelander memes in there.
Exactly. Just have some good time and stuff. But people there are incredibly nice, and instead of making fun of me or instead of fighting back, no, they keep like recommending me games and trying to find out like, oh, maybe he'll like this one or maybe he'll like that one. So the perseverance in there is so admirable. And not only that, but the way you guys talk about your favorite games, like the way you talk about Final Fantasy VII, Brad, is really, that really works on people like me. Like, I can't make fun of it anymore because it means a lot to you. Like it's clear that game is very special to you. There's this guy in the Discord called Chris who told me today that his favorite Final Fantasy is Final Fantasy X. And I remember playing Final Fantasy X and not liking it at all. That was the first one that really put me off weebery in general. But he was explaining how that was his favorite game and why that's his favorite game. And that really struck a chord with me because I have my favorite games too, of course, but I can never really explain to people why that is. I just like them most of the time, except if it's really something truly special like Baldur's Gate 2. But I think weebs have like the special ability to really delve into the game they really like, or delve into the anime or story or manga or whatever you guys call that crap. Really delve into it and really make it your own and really become emotive by it and lay that on to others, which is a skill that not many people have. It's very hard to make people excited for something. And when I see you, and you too, Ben, when I saw you two getting excited for Rebirth right now, I was like, oh shit, that's so awesome. I wish I had a game like that coming out right now, which is also Rebirth.
You had Baldur's Gate.
That's true. So I shouldn't complain. I was happy last year. And I'm really looking forward to Rebirth too. But what I mean to say is it's so affectionate how you guys handle the medium that you love. And that's not an easy thing to do, because I think a lot of people in comics or superhero movies or superhero games, they always get like a elitist air about it, or they start shitting on it, or, oh, it used to be better, or blah, blah, blah. Well, weebs or anime lovers don't really do that. They just keep recommending new stuff to each other and keep finding new stuff. And even to me, like people have talked me into playing Persona 3, which is awesome. Or you, Brad, talked me into playing Final Fantasy 7, which is awesome. And there's probably or Maddie talked me into watching a couple of things too. So I think it's really cool that you guys have such an affection for the medium and can really convert that to spreading the love about it. That's
Yeah, I mean, thank you, first of all. I mean, I've been the same experience with other things. Like, I remember one of my old coworkers, Ben Moore, talking very highly about Divinity 2 at the time. And I never played a CRPG before. I didn't grow up with a PC or anything like that, so I missed a lot of those older games, like Baldur's Gate and stuff like that. And his passion for the game really got me curious about it. And I checked it out, and like, I loved it. I was like, I'm in. And I loved Baldur's Gate 3, so now it's like, yeah. If you could find someone who just speaks about it or they articulate it in some way that really interests you, I think that's great.
Yeah.
But there are filthy weebs out there, so don't get that twisted, Locke. There are degenerates for sure.
Yeah, I have a secondary sorted out. Like Locke got really close to calling me, to like lumping me in with the weebs there, and I'm not.
Yeah, you guys are weeb adjacent.
Yeah,
I
don't know about that.
You're still gonna lose the war.
I have somebody, I think it was Dustin, created an emote of my face in the Discord that says no anime. So like I'm as clean as they come. Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make that clear.
Well, you just said that Final Fantasy VII was your favorite childhood game, right?
Yeah, but children
I think
don't know
Final
anything.
Fantasy VII kind of like is the outlier in that. I think Final Fantasy VII appeals to so many different types of people some way.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's a gateway drug, so be careful.
That's true. It really is.
Well, Weebery still sucks. It's awful.
Yeah.
But the people are nice.
My first platinum on PS4 was Nier Automata, so maybe I'm closer than I'd like to be.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, wow.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to look up her dress for one of those trophies, I'm pretty sure.
I claim innocence.
There we go.
Okay, dude. Let's hear from the listeners. It's from Matlock. Gentlemen, I have a keep it up for you guys. Keep it up, Arrowhead Game Studios. Helldivers is a day-and-date PC game with crossplay. They are very communicative with the player base, aren't overhiring now to set up layoffs later, and even told people to hold off buying the game until later if connection issues are a deal breaker. Keep it up all. Yeah. Arrowhead's been having a hell of a time dealing with that game. Suffering from success, 100% on that.
Yep.
This is from Sean Mason. Hey, Summoners. I have a quick keep it up to Aspire for bringing the real Battlefront games to modern hardware. Yes. These games were a huge part of my childhood, and learning about their return filled my day with joy. Despite never having played them online before, I'm eagerly anticipating diving into the competitive scene day one. Best, Sean M. Yeah, man. That was a feel-good announcement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that is so cool.
I think they've been available on PC already, I think, but still, like, getting the console market in there, that's awesome. I'm really happy for everyone.
It's also new on PC. Like, you can buy the collection too, and I think there's some upgraded visuals and stuff, and like the DLC maps are at it now too.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a win for everybody. Dude, it's so funny when they showed it off in the Nintendo Direct or whatever. I was like, oh, that looks like the PS2 version. It just looked like a PS2 game. Still, I was like, that's cool. It's Switch. It's portable.
Right.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
But still feel good moments all around. All right, Ben.
Mm-hmm. I lost sound.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Wait. We're good. I was typing at the same time, so I was muted.
All right.
Let's talk about, Ben, please tell me about Enshrouded.
Enshrouded is a game I was looking forward to for a while. I think it was a big hit on Steam Next or one of the Steam demos, and it was shown off a few times. And full disclosure, I got this code from Evolve, the PR company for, I think it's Keen Games that did it. So full disclosure there for my podcast, and they actually sent me a few of them, which I gave to some buddies. But
me,
you got one too, yeah, that's right.
I got one, yeah.
So Enshrouded, survival crafting game. As some people know, I'm a big survival crafting fan. I spend way too many hours. My favorite part of them is the building mechanics, and a lot of them I really prioritize building over exploration, which drives many of my friends who play with me crazy because they're like, I just want to go open the map, and I'm like, yeah, but I just want to build this hut. Just let me do it. So I haven't played. I played a little bit of it last night just to refresh my memory on some of the mechanics and everything, but I haven't played it in a couple weeks. And this is one of those games that was just doing huge numbers and before it released, as far as views and everything else. And then Power World came out, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Uh-oh, is Power World going to bury this?" Fortunately, it hasn't. They still got, I think they've crossed 2 million players now, which is not as many as Power World, but it's still gigantic.
Yeah, that's a big success.
But for an indie game, absolutely. For any game, but for an indie game, absolutely. So, man, I'm not really 100% sure on the story of this game, if there is one. I think it's one of those, it's another early access game that a lot of these survival crafting games end up being early access games. But the first thing I noticed when I hopped into the game, and I don't know how to say this in a way that makes sense, so I'll just say it how it presents in my brain, is when you jump into it and you're playing it, this feels like a game, like a real game, not an early access survival crafting game. And if you've played any of the early access survival crafting games, you know what I mean. It feels like, okay, here are the bones of this, the mechanics, go out and figure it out. This feels like a game. You're presented with some dialogue early on. The way the world feels, the moves and feels, and the way the game performs feels right. It feels like it is sitting in a good spot already. So essentially, you go and you create these shrines that allow you to do building around them in a certain radius. And you go and you gather resources, you punch some trees, you dig up some dirt, whatever, and you can start building pretty much right away. The thing that makes Enshrouded kind of, I guess that makes it unique in a way, is there is a mechanic called Enshrouded that certain areas of the map have a little bit of a fog over them. And there's a lighter fog that is enshrouded, and then there's a more dense fog that is like pretty much you go in there before you have certain protections, and you're going to die within like 30 seconds or something. And so your goal really is to open up as much of the map as you can, to go in and destroy the things that are making that environment enshrouded. And different areas can become enshrouded, and take the shroud will take over those areas, and you have to go in and try to essentially liberate that area. You have lots of different enemies, and I will say that survival crafting games can be hard. There can be obstacles and barriers and stuff, but some of the enemies in this game are pretty tough, and the combat is actually a little deeper than just swinging a sword and slashing somebody up. You have a pretty good parry mechanic that stuns the enemy. So it's pretty tough to figure out the timing on that, I'll say. And I think that's because of skill, not because of a lack of game design on their part. I think it's because I'm just, I'm much more of a player that just likes to go in and roll everything over. I don't play very strategically in games like this a lot of times. So it's been a good way to it's got a good mechanic to it for sure. And you go around, you can destroy pretty much anything, gather the resources from it. You discover new towns. You go and rescue different NPCs. You've got different characters different NPCs that you unlock will allow you to craft different things. So instead of, there is this, you go and you discover a resource, and then you unlock items that you can then craft, but only if you've got the blacksmith or the farmer or whatever, if you've rescued them and brought them back to your little village. So there are lookout towers that you go and you can kind of open up more parts of the map, discover new quests, go and do those quests to enable you to find a new piece that allows you to craft this new thing. So the game has got a lot of depth to it for sure. It's got that little bit more difficult spike to it as well that a lot of the survival crafting games I don't feel like they have. The charm in so many survival crafting games is the survival and the crafting. And in this game, that's definitely the case. But the fact that you have to unlock, characters that actually build to the story and enable you to create those new things is definitely a huge piece of it as well. So I played a good bit of this right when it first came out. So I took a long break and I've played a little bit more. And I really like it. I don't know how much more I'll play of it. I'll probably play some more of it here and there, but until it fully releases. But it's been a blast. I'm really enjoying it. The movement's great. The performance of the game is already fantastic. The amount of things that you can craft is insane. My biggest critique is not really that big of a critique, because something that newer survival crafting games have done is, and I think about Power World that just did this, where if you go to craft something, as long as you have it in your not in your person inventory, but in like a box or something in your base, it'll pull from those resources and allow you to craft it. This goes back to the old style of you have to actually have it on your person in order to craft with it, which I think is totally fine. That makes sense. That's the way they should work. But just because I've been a little bit spoiled with newer mechanics, it kind of sucks that fun out of it. But Enshrouded, I think it's like $25 on Steam. I love it. It feels really good. It's co-op. I think you can play with up to 4 players. And yeah, it's just such a crowded market right now that it's kind of not been on the top of my priority list, but it's a solid survival crafting game that I think it's going to do really. It's going to keep doing well. It's like I said, it's already passed 2 million players. I think it's going to keep it up there. So
yeah.
Nice.
You said something interesting to me about these NPCs you find out in the world. They come back to your town, right?
Yeah.
So when they're at your town, do you have to build stuff for them? Do they build their own house? Do they do like chores or anything like that for you?
Yeah, so I haven't really unlocked that ability to, if there is that, to let them do things. Basically, when you bring them back to your town, you have this like a summoning staff, and you summon them where you want them. And so for me, I built this house, and I've just summoned them all inside my house, and they enable me to build things within a certain radius of them. I imagine if I were to go and build another base somewhere else, I could take that summoning staff and summon them there, and then I would unlock those abilities there. But it seems like that's really the only purpose they serve as of now, at least as of my level or as of the point in the game that they've completed through early access. So yeah, it seems like once you get them and bring them back to your town, they kind of just stand there. They don't even move around inside where you put them. They're literally just standing there. And I have them all in a row, so I walk up to them to like craft different things, which is kind of lame, to be honest. But it's a cool mechanic, just that you have to go rescue a specific character. And then they talk to you, they give you quests and stuff like that. But no, they're not actively performing any function other than unlocking those, those different types of, you have to have a kiln, you have to have a drying rack, you have to have a potter stone, you have to, all that kind of stuff. So they just unlock the ability for you to do that. And I think you have to build it within a certain radius of them to be able to use it.
Yeah. The shroud or whatever, that's like this fog covering the land or whatever. You said you go through, you get like hurt, some of the thicker fog, which is cool. I think that's really fun. If you said this, I'm sorry I missed it, but how do you kind of expand the map and get rid of some of the fog?
Yeah. So the first one, for instance, you go in, you have to go underground. You find this big boss, that you haven't seen this enemy type before. You kill that boss. They drop a weapon or whatever, and I think that's random because I had a friend who was playing with me, and they got a different drop than I did. And then there's a tree or some kind of plant essentially growing that's creating the shroud. And you go and you destroy that, and then it clears that area. Now, it doesn't clear as big of an area as you would think. Like there's still shroud around, but that is the way that's pretty much the way you do it all along. And I forgot to mention about the shroud is that like as a base character, you can go into the easier shroud, the not as intense shroud, and I think you have like a 5-minute timer that goes down, and you can do things to increase that. There's potions you can take. There's different types of things you can do to increase the amount of time you can be inside the shroud. But once that time runs out, your health starts ticking away, and you die pretty quickly, and you have to get out of it. And it resets, and you can go right back in after your timing resets. There's a more intense shroud that I haven't gotten there yet, but I assume there's something that you unlock that allows you to traverse into that as well. But that one kills you like almost instantly, no matter what precautions you've taken, unless you're have certain things.
Right. So crafting obviously a huge part of the game. Have you crafted anything that you feel is unique to this game? Now, I'm not saying this is unique to the game, but I remember when I played Valheim, just making a boat was really cool.
Yeah.
Has there been anything that you're just like, wow, I'm really glad this is in this game. This is really cool.
No.
Or is it just kind of the basic stuff right now? It is early access still, so they're adding things still, but just curious.
It is early access. That's probably one possibility of a reason there's not anything like that. And then the other part is just that for as many hours as I've played, which is probably like, I don't know, 15 or 20 hours over the last month or two, I haven't a lot of those trees, for lack of a better word, I haven't enabled those skills high enough to be able to go further. So no, I don't think so. But again, like I didn't know you could craft a boat in Valheim until I played for like 30 hours. I mean, I guess I knew you could craft a boat. I just hadn't unlocked the ability to do so. So there's certainly a lot more potential for that to be the case. But no, as of yet, it's like, you're crafting weapons, you're crafting tools to mine or to dig or whatever at this point. So I haven't unlocked any of that. There is a puzzle aspect to the game. As well, I forgot to mention, when you go and you find these new towers, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the old style Assassin's Creed games where you would go and you would find like a peak you had to get to, and then well, in this game you go and you find these towers that are around, and they end up being fast travel points once you complete them. But you basically have to go through a platforming kind of puzzle to get to the top of it and unlock it, and then that becomes a fast travel point. You can also jump off of them and use your hang glider or whatever to get a little further. Yeah,
that which is again cool.
Something that is one thing that you craft that I guess is unique to some of the games, but a lot more games are having hang gliders now.
Yeah, they're just fun, man.
They are fun. You can't. Yeah, absolutely.
That's true.
One thing that I think is important to me with crafting games, and this is a very subjective term or subjective thing, but I'm wondering, Ben, how's the cozy factor?
Yeah.
I'm going to be in this world for a long time. I think about Minecraft, like the music is very relaxing. It's very calming. And I think back to the time of Valheim, also very nice lighting going on, nice music. How's it so far in this?
It's very cozy. You can create a lot of different stuff for your base, different things that, you can make books, you can create bookshelves, little chairs, fireplace, all that kind of stuff. You can decorate your place up real nice. The thing that I've noticed, though, is as opposed to a lot of other survival crafting games, I don't spend a lot of time at my base. And, I think about Sons of the Forest, which just came out in 1.0. I'm going to be doing a full, I think I'm going to do a full Twitch playthrough of like building a world of that.
Nice.
But I have so many hours in the early access of Sons of the Forest, and the thing about that game is I wanted to be at my base a lot more there. And the thing that made it fun to be at your base was that you were, you constantly had enemies coming in and trying to rip down your base, and you had to defend it against them. And if you weren't there, they were still going to come and be at your base and try to mess you up. In Enshrouded, it seems like wherever you place these shrines, it creates like a bubble, and then you can build within that bubble, like I mentioned before. And you can't build if you're outside a bubble of one of those. And you can only make a crafting bench where you have one of those shrines. And if you don't have a crafting bench, then you can't craft. So the thing about it, and maybe it's just where my base is placed, I'm not getting like any kind of interference or anybody trying to come in and invade my base or anything like that. Again, it may just be a thing where it's the point in the game that I'm at that they haven't tried to encroach upon my land yet. But I feel like I'm far enough along that they should have by now. So it does take
invade your base?
Well, that's what I'm saying. They haven't yet.
But people can?
I don't know. Not other players.
Okay. I was like, whoa, what?
No. I mean like enemies. Like I was mentioning, Sons of the Forest, you're away from your base and you come back and there's just like a swarm of these whatever they are, cannibals and deformed entities of a variety of types. Basically, if you're at your base in Enshrouded, to my extent of my playing, nobody's coming after you. Nobody's coming in. There's no threat. You go to your base and you're fine. There's even been points where I've like ventured outside, the area that the shrine protects, and like tried to bait them in to see if they'd come in. And I don't know if it's the telemetry of the enemies or if it's just the programming, but they don't come in. So again, I only have the one base. I haven't expanded that to any other points yet. So maybe that is the case elsewhere, but in this area that I'm in, I haven't experienced that. But yeah, that is something that I like about the survival crafting games is you're not only building a base, you're not only going out exploring, but you also have to defend your base. And this game does lack that to this point. Again, pretty early on, so it's possible that opens up.
But there's no PvP, nothing.
No, it's a single player or co-op. You could do either one. I think, like I said, you could do up to 4 players. But I've mostly played it single player. It's all about exploring the world, opening up the world, defeating the Shroud, etc. And I'm sure there's it may not even be built out yet because of early access, but I'm sure there's a bigger objective down the road somewhere. But it's a lot further than where I'm at now. Like I said, I think it's probably like 20 hours, 15, 20 hours into it, and I haven't unlocked that. But I've also just been jerking around a lot. Like, again, I like the building part of it. So I've just been, going and trying to find the NPCs that allow you to build different things so that I can like essentially create my own little economy inside of my base so that then I can be way too overpowered and have no fun when I go out and explore.
Yeah.
But it is tough. I will say the combat is tough, and it feels like one of those games where if you go too far outside of where your character has progressed to, you're going to run into enemies that are going to one-shot you. And
Cool.
I like that. I like that aspect of it, but it's unusual in survival crafting games, in my experience, that it even lets you go further without getting the appropriate resources or appropriate weapons.
Yeah. Locke, I don't really know your history with crafting or survival games. Does this sound interesting to you?
I have about 700 hours in Rust.
Oh, okay.
I love these games, but that's why I asked, does it have PvP? Because that's my only requirement for me to enjoy it. If it doesn't have PvP, it's fun in co-op. I still like to play it in co-op, but solo, no way. I'm not going to put 500 hours into a game where I craft stuff and nobody sees it, or I go to war with tribes and nobody's there to witness it. Like, that's not fun.
What about Valheim? You've got a lot of hours in Valheim.
Well, yeah, but we played co-op. I never played that solo.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Enshrouded, you can play co-op.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well,
you can play co-op, but
okay.
you just don't have. It's not like Rust where you have other players coming in and trying to destroy stuff. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because that's what makes those games so much fun to me. I remember in Rust, there's so many of my favorite gaming moments are in these types of games. I remember, Ben, I told you about this. I think there was a time in Rust where I was on a European server, and me and my friend would just build a tiny little base with a flat roof, and we went outside and we found this huge wooden barn, and we went inside, and when we went inside, we heard these dozen little voices shouting, "Hoopa, hoopa, hoopa." We're like, what the hell is going on here? What is this? This is cool. And we went inside, and there was this guy with a deer mask on and like 12 other people around him just jumping up and down. Hoopa, hoopa, hoopa. We were like, what is this? What is going on? So my friend, he shot one of them. And they all turned around. It was like it was like real. It was like a cold or something. And they all turned around, hoopa, hoopa, hoopa. And then we killed Hoopa. And in Rust, you can take the skull of someone you kill. So we took Hoopa's skull and took him back to our base with all these 12-year-old Russian kids chasing us, and we just hid in our base, and then they came through the roof, just pouring in, like all these Russian kids came pouring in through the roof, shouting "Hoopa, hoopa, hoopa," until we threw out Hoopa's skull back to them, and then they disappeared, and we never saw them again. But those are those little moments that you never experienced in any other game, and that's what makes those games so much fun to me.
Oh yeah,
they're also huge time wasters. Like,
yep.
I those 700 hours in Rust, I think I put those all in when I was unemployed. I just day and night, because you have to. Because if you're not there, people will invade your base and all your stuff is gone. Yeah, exactly. I think DayZ is another one. I put so many hours into that one too. Those games are so special. But this one also sounds really, really nice, man. Like Valheim is really nice. We also put a lot of hours into that together, right? Over Christmas break. Is it more comparable to that one then, I guess? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's also fun.
That's so funny with Rust. My girlfriend like really likes Rust too, Locke, and she'd just be like, I gotta defend my base. I can't do it. I'm like, oh my God. So I get it, dude. All right. The next game, Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden. Locke, you've been playing this. You've been enjoying it. Colin has also been enjoying it.
Yes, I saw.
About your time with Banishers.
Well, have either of you played Vampire?
No,
like the previous.
I'm familiar with it though.
Okay, well, it's basically, and this is maybe going to sound a bit redundant, but it's basically the same game. It's basically a sequel, even though it's not a sequel. It takes the same elements of Vampire, but it expands on them. So I think Colin last week already explained the basics of the game, so I don't want to go over those again. So that seems a bit He's a bit redundant. So he already explained. I'll go over the story real quick. Like, you arrive at this town called New Eden. It's the 17th century. You're there. There's a woman and a man called Red and Tia. And Tia dies. You're basically there to. Is everything okay?
Yes, everything's totally cool. I was writing notes and I put in the wrong chat.
Oh, okay.
It's for timestamps for Dustin.
Oh, I thought my mic was freaking out.
No. You're good.
Okay. So you basically get there because you're summoned by a friend of yours called Charles. He summoned you guys there to New Eden because they're having this haunting problem, and you're banishers. And banishers basically banish ghosts. That's what they do. So when you arrive to New Eden, it turns out that Charles died, and you have to figure out what happened to him. But during that little investigation, and Tia also dies, so the woman dies. So then you have to play as her husband called Red. So it's basically a dual protagonist game. Like, you play as those two people, and Tia is dead and Red is alive, right? In Vampire, the whole premise of the game was vampires, but the whole premise of the game was that it took place in London in one hub. And you had a lot of characters there, and you had to investigate those characters to find out who were vampires, who were not. And you played as a vampire there, so you could bite people and make them into vampires, and that would change the whole dynamic of the story. But basically the same thing happens here. Like, your wife died, but to keep her essence alive as a ghost, you basically need to harvest souls of living people. So what happens in this game, you basically travel from settlement to settlement. It's a semi-open world, but all the open world are like tiny little settlements, tiny little hubs connected by little roads you travel to. And every hub has like its little story, and every story is like a Witcher side quest. Like, there's a haunting you have to solve. And once you solve the haunting, or once you solve the problem they're having, you get presented with a choice, right? Do you want to banish the ghosts, or do you want to absolve them, then, I think it's called? And then what do you do with the human being that's left behind? Like, do you harvest their soul so your wife gets more essence, or do you let them go? It's very much like The Witcher, like I already said, like those side quests in The Witcher where you get presented with a little side story by somebody who seems to be in need of help, but then it turns out that person isn't really all that good himself or herself. It's basically the same thing here. So every hub you go to is its own little side story where you meet these characters, you investigate them, you find out what's haunting them, why they're being haunted. Most of the time it's because they did something wrong, so you have to fix it, and then you get presented with the choice, what do I do at the end, right? That all sounds very basic, very simple. So when I first played it for the first couple of hours, I figured, well, okay, I got this. It's just The Witcher, but on a smaller scale. But then when I was a little bit further into it, I started recognizing something The Witcher does also do very well. Like, choices you made in like the opening hour suddenly come back to haunt you 6, 7, 10 hours later, which is really cool. Like, you meet characters in the opening town where you're summoned, basically. And when your wife dies there, all those settlers who were living there scatter all over the map. So you basically, whenever you travel to a new hub road, you find those settlers again, but they're still being haunted by the ghost, or by the nightmare that it's called here, that was still haunting them in the initial town. So you have to bring them all together, or you have to solve all their problems to get back to the initial town where you were, to hopefully resurrect your wife or banish her, maybe, if you're an asshole. So those seem like binary choices, but they're not really, because everything comes back to haunt you, which is, pun not intended, I guess. But it's really it caught me by surprise, like, very much. Like Ben was saying earlier during the break, like, oh, you weren't very much looking forward to playing this game, and I wasn't. Like, I bought this game, I played it for like 2-3 hours, and I thought, okay, I'm just playing Vampire again, but I already played this like 5 years ago. It's the same game. But it's really not. This game is massively underrated. It reminded me so much of not only The Witcher, but also a lot of other games, like Metroidvania games too. Like your ghost wife, she travels with you, but she has like different abilities. So there is combat, and during the combat, you can play as her because of course, she can't die. She's already dead. So you first play as her, and then she has different abilities during the combat. But what she also has are different abilities to open up new paths. Basically, like in Prince of Persia, maybe a little.
Jedi Survivor, like that.
Yeah, Jedi. Yeah, exactly. So you get like new powers that open up new pathways to new hubs that connect to other hubs. Maybe a little bit comparable to the level design in Dark Souls, not as good or as intricate, of course. Or what it also really reminded me of was Alan Wake 2.
Oh, okay.
Well, I gotta be careful here. A very budget Alan Wake 2.
Mm-hmm.
In Alan Wake 2, you also had this hub area with the town and then the woods connected to it, and then some other locations. It really reminded me of that because of the atmosphere. There's not really jump scares here. It's a very mellow game, very nostalgic game, but it has no jump scares. Like it's a horror game, of course, but the combat is so easy. You'll never get startled. Nothing is going to jump out at you, but it's very atmospheric. It's very, very special. Have either of you guys played Greedfall?
No, I always wanted to, but I missed it.
Okay. Well, this is basically better Greedfall.
Okay.
Greedfall is not really comparable. It also takes place in a fictional universe. It has the same kind of Euro jank. It has slightly better combat, but everything Greedfall does, I think Banishers does a whole lot better. The production value is of course low. You can tell that it's low. You can tell by the locations. The levels are intricate. They're designed to be intricate, but you can't really freely explore. Everything is really narrow, but you do get to go back to a lot of areas. Now, the problem is that because all those roads are so small and so linear, the time spent backtracking is a lot. Like I timed it today. I think I was walking for 10 minutes just to get back to a quest, which is good in a game where the combat is excellent, but the combat is so easy here, even on hard, that it doesn't really incentivize you to explore freely the whole map, even though a game like this should do that. There are also points of interest on the map, like little things you can find to craft, or little things that get new weapons or new crafting materials, but they're not really necessary to beat the story. At least I think so. I'm not at the end yet, but that's what it looks like to me. There's just a lot of setup that pays off way later, which I wasn't expecting at all. So I think if you go into this with the mindset that it's the Witcher side quest, but not the Witcher main game, then I think you'll have a fantastic time. It's really a great game. The biggest problem I had with it was on PC. There's no FOV slider, and the FOV is really small. So you're really right at the back of their head, which I get a little motion sick because of that. But I downloaded the mod, so that wasn't a problem anymore. But yeah, this game is so underrated, but it's because it got no marketing. It got no nothing. I think it was shown at the Game Awards once. Last year, I think. I don't even think it was this year, and that was about it. I don't remember seeing it anywhere else at some point.
Maybe like the PC game show and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
maybe. Yeah,
because I knew about this game. I think I've seen it a couple times, but yeah. But
it deserves way more attention. If it wasn't for Final Fantasy VII Remake that I played, or Rebirth coming up, this would be my game of the year right now.
Okay. That's high praise.
Yeah, I think it's really, really great. Again, same thing with Suicide Squad. It's not a 10, it's not a 9, but I would give this an 8. 8.5 or an 8, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hearing you and Colin talk about it really got me interested in it. Donut, I think, is a cool, interesting studio. I like that they try a bunch of different stuff. Like, Jusant came out. I wanted to play that. It looks really fun. This game, from what I understand of Vampire, like you were saying too, it is very in line with that. And it seems like the best parts of it is kind of like the story and the exploration going on here. Not necessarily the game, like the combat. Combat sounds kind of just whatever for right now. As I understand, that's what Vampire was like too. It's just whatever. But But the way you guys are talking about it, yeah, it's definitely interesting to me. I like the idea of, these choices you making really matter. They coming back. Like, I'm totally cool, and I do enjoy, some decisions that are very straightforward, like good or bad. That's totally fine. But I do like ones that are not always so clear, and you're not exactly sure if you're making the right choice. Because I definitely did that in The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
Where I was like, oh, I don't know. I guess this. And something completely different happens. And I'm like, oh, shit.
Locke, I already own Vampire. I think I bought it for $10 on a sale or something years ago. Should I play? I mean, I know they're not connected at all, but should I play Vampire or just skip it and play this? Because this is $50. I got to buy it. Is Vampire like? Is it still worth playing over this?
Yeah, I think Vampire is easily equally awesome.
Okay,
it's just a different setting. Vampire is smaller scale, and Vampire is 5 years old, of course, too. So the production value is even lower. But it's they're both great games. What's the best thing about these games is the dialogue and the way it's written. It's not filled with like endless monologues of NPCs you meet. No, every NPC has a name, or most NPCs have a name. They all have an interesting backstory. They're all connected to each other somehow. So it's really one of those games where you have to delve deep and really get to know every character, and then it becomes very, very emotive, very nice.
My biggest problem with buying Don't Nod games is I'm afraid it will give them more money to make more Life is Strange games.
They don't own the IP, so they probably won't be.
Right. Oh, wait, Don't Nod doesn't own Life is Strange?
No, that's Square Enix.
But they developed them, though, right?
They created it, yes.
Well, then we're safe.
Life is Strange True Colors was a different studio.
Okay.
But they've made Life is Strange-esque games after that.
Yeah.
Like, Remember? No, not Remember Me was a long time ago. Tell Me Why and stuff like that.
Why, yeah. I really, to your point, Brad, about them trying a lot of different things, I really enjoyed Jasant, which when I saw it was from Don't Nod, I was like, no. And then I played it, and I was like, I really enjoyed it. So, yeah, this does sound intriguing for sure.
It came out at a bad time. I think if this came out last year, before Alan Wake 2, it would have, and before Baldur's Gate 3, so we're really speaking about exactly a year ago, I think it would have hit big. Right now, I don't hear anyone speaking about it. No. I don't see anyone playing it really, except for me and Colin and maybe. So yeah, I want to sleep on this. After Rebirth, if you have nothing to play, this would be perfect, man. Especially if you like The Witcher 3, I think you'll love this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it sounds really cool. Do you know how long it is? Or I'm going to say 12 hours, 20?
No. It's long, man. I think
it is?
Yeah, between 30 and 40, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's a big, yeah. It has like a big open world, really. Like the open world, like I said, it's connected with hubs, but it's really there's like a couple of biomes. It's really big. It's really, yeah, it's huge.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, it sounds cool. Definitely keep my eye on it. Maybe when it drops on sale, I'll pick it up or something, Steam sale or something. All definitely keep an eye out for it.
Yeah,
all right.
I think it's on console too. Yeah, because Colin's playing it on PS5, of course.
Yeah. All right, cool. Now, Locke, I am really excited to talk to you about this Final Fantasy VII Remake. You have dived in. You've been playing it. You're nearly finished with the game.
I am.
Please tell me your thoughts, but also tell me. You mentioned briefly about Final Fantasy X, turned you off, you were out.
Yeah.
What was your past history of Final Fantasy, if any, besides that?
The first one I ever played was 8. Final Fantasy 8. And I loved that one because I didn't know any better. Then I got Final Fantasy 9, and I loved that one too. I thought that one was amazing. It's still my favorite one until I played Remake. Then I went back to 7, but I didn't like it as much because I already played 8 and 9, and especially 9 was so much more technologically advanced.
Yeah.
That it didn't. At that time, I was very young too, so I wanted the new cool thing, and it didn't really click with me, which is so stupid because if I could go back, I wish I would have just completed it then instead of just brushing it aside and telling myself I would come back to it later. I played all of them. I played 10, and that's when things started to go wrong for me because 10... It had great graphics. If I have to say something positive about it, it was groundbreaking. I remember I got my PS2 for Final Fantasy X, but the story that's where it started to go really wrong for me. What was cool about Final Fantasy IX, especially to me, is that it was so grounded and it was so almost realistic. I guess that's the same thing as grounded, but it was so the characters were almost like cartoony. Not really, but they were like not as serious as they were in Final Fantasy X. Then you get to Final Fantasy X, and it's about dreams and hallucinations, and it's about alternate realities, and you get dropped here, and then you don't really exist, but you do, and it's you're on a beach and you play volleyball or whatever. It was all like, where's my fantasy? Where's the fantasy in Final Fantasy, right? But I can imagine, like I said before, that guy Chris from the Discord, if you grew up with this one, I can perfectly imagine that this is your favorite one. Because it was so, at the time, it was groundbreaking, man. I remember seeing those graphics for the first time and I was like in awe, of course. Then 11 was the online one, I think. That's the one I didn't play. Yeah.
Love 11.
Oh, you do? Yeah.
I love it. Dude, every year I resubscribe to that game for like a month at least.
Really? 11? Yeah. Wow. What's so cool? I've never.
I really like the story, and I really like. It's a very old MMO, very old, and I just kind of like some of those old school design philosophies. And I just think the world is super cool. Like I think 14 is a much better game. Like much better. I would not recommend 11 to people. No way. I have some nostalgia for it too, so I do. Like I played it when it came out on my PS2 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
what kind of world does it take place? Is it like more fantasy or
it's a fantasy world? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like medieval fantasy stuff.
Okay, that's cool. You said the story is awesome?
Yeah, and I do like the story a lot, but it is very archaic compared to things nowadays, like how it's presented and stuff.
Oh, yeah,
but at the time, it was awesome. There was like cutscenes in it and stuff for an MMO. It's really cool. There's like no voice acting or anything like that. 14's much better if you're interested. Much better.
That sounds cool. Well, 11 I didn't play. Then I went to 12, which is basically Star Wars Final Fantasy, and I thought that one was okay. I thought it was fine, pretty cool. Didn't really leave a lasting impression on me. Then I played 13, and that's when I quit.
Yeah.
13 looked amazing. Like the cutscenes, man. I remember on the PS3 that was amazing. But that's where the characters. Yeah, that's where the characters really lost me. Like the characters were so cool, if that's the right word. Like they were so cool that they didn't connect with me anymore. They had like it went way too philosophical too with the what's it called again, the ice people or whatever they turn people into,
the
and
Fal'Cie and Lassie.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the Fal'Cie. So I didn't even complete that one, I think. But Maddie told me recently that Final Fantasy 13-2, I think, is amazing. It's supposed to be really good,
in my opinion.
Yeah, that's the one with the time travel, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't play that one, but that's one of Maddie's favorite games. So I'll definitely go back to that one at some point. I played 14, the online game. I think I only played, I want to say 20 hours, maybe 25 hours. I think at the start of COVID, maybe before that even. People kept telling me that the story is really good, but to get to the good part in the story, you first have to beat like a Realm Reborn.
Yeah, Realm Reborn, in my opinion, is the weakest story. Yeah. I think after that, it really picks up. So I do understand that. Yes,
I remember Dustin playing it on stream once, and he just opened it up, he ran around a little bit, and then said, "This is a nightmare." And I get why, because when you get into it, if you're not used to MMOs, I don't know that if Dustin has played many MMOs, but if you've played WoW or if you play Guild Wars or even the Old Republic, you kind of know where to find or where to go or what to click off in the UI. But if you're new, I think it's very overwhelming. Like I
get that. But
that's another one of those games. If I ever break my back and can't move anymore, that's the one I'll play, because I really People keep saying that the story is so cool that I really want to see that one through at some point, but there's just not enough time.
There's a lot. Yeah. I do think it's one of the best Final Fantasy stories, period.
That's cool.
But yes, there is a lot. There's a lot to the game.
Then we got to 15, of course.
Right.
I like parts of it. I didn't like most of it. What I like, the bond between the characters was really cool. That's one of the most important things to me. Like the characters need to connect with me, and they kind of did. But the overall story was such a mess that it didn't it didn't leave a lasting impression on me.
Right.
That's also one I didn't finish. I think I played 20 hours. The combat was really annoying in that one. I remember, like you didn't, right? Like you didn't really have control over it. You just had to press square and that's it. And then he would just float everywhere. Ignis, what's his name?
Noctis.
Noctis, yeah. Ignis was one of his friends, I guess. Yeah. So that one was fine. Apparently, the DLC is awesome, especially the last one.
I've heard that too.
Where you play as the bad guy. So that one apparently was really cool, but I didn't finish that one. And then we got to Final Fantasy 16 last year, and that is the one that really pissed me off.
I knew it was coming.
Well, I'll tell you why. I have a good reason for it, because people kept telling me, like, oh, you're going to love it. It's like Game of Thrones, dude. You're going to love it. Because most people I know love Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is like up there for me. But then I played it. I bought it, and I was like, oh, finally, Final Fantasy is back in fantasy. This is going to connect with me. And like I remember in Game of Thrones, I think season 1, episode 3 or 4. There's this really cool quote by Tywin Lannister, like the Alpha Pater of the Lannisters, and he says, "A lion doesn't concern himself with the opinions of the sheep." Which is such a cool quote. That's so cool. That really got to me when I heard that the first time. I thought, like, wow, who wrote this? That's amazing. And then I played like the first 2 hours of Final Fantasy 16. And I don't remember his name, like the big bald guy, like also like the head of the family, I think.
Kuka.
Like the first...
the bald guy? Yeah.
At like the first meeting, he grabs like the girl. He says like, "Oh, Benedicta," grunting and all the usual anime stuff. But then he says something like, "Does the lion take care when he's chasing the hare?" Like, what? What are you talking about, dude? And the whole game, I played like 10 hours of it. The dialogue in that game was just... Well, I don't want to be disrespectful to it, but like if anime characters are shouting at me like "Die down, soul crystal will be banished forever," I'm like, what are you saying? Like, what are you talking about? So that one really didn't connect with me as all. The combat was also like made for imbeciles. Like you just press square and you're done. Like, well, it's true. Well, again, I don't want to be...
There's a lot of depth to the combat. A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Okay, well, okay. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
It's fine.
I only played it for a couple of hours, so I could be completely wrong. It could be that it gets way better later on, of course.
It does.
And I know a lot... Yeah, I can imagine. And a lot of people love it too. So I could be perfectly wrong. Maybe I was just pissed off at the time.
Yeah, if it did connect with you, that's totally fine.
Yeah, but that one really made me angry, especially after... Because I played the tutorial, or the demo, I mean, right? With the little boy and then the stuff happens. I thought, wow, these cutscenes are amazing. Like, this could be really cool. But then I played it, and I thought... like the side quests and stuff, there were just too many annoyances for me.
Sure.
But it could also be that I wasn't in the right headspace at the time.
Yeah, I remember what it was, Locke. I remember exactly what it was. At the time, everybody was so excited about Final Fantasy 16, and you were raging because 6 weeks later, you knew that Baldur's Gate 3 was going to release, and you were worried. You were threatened that Baldur's Gate 3 was going to be defeated by Final Fantasy, and you were raging against it.
It was not, though.
It was not.
That could be...
Lock one in the end.
Because...
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, that's true. I won, not Baldur's Gate 3.
Well, maybe you can revisit 16 when like the PC port comes out or something. Maybe that'll be.
It's one of those games I'll definitely play again, and I'm sure I'll be able to respect it more and enjoy it more. It was just at the time. Maybe it's just the wrong time.
Sometimes it's not the right time for you to play a game. I totally get that.
But then we get to Final Fantasy VII, which I started playing because of you, Brad. Because I think at your first episode, or when we talked at some point, when you just joined LSM, you told me that was your favorite game, right? So I figured you asked me to be on Summon's side on the third, fourth episode, I think. So I figured, well, I should do this guy a favor. I'll play his favorite game. So I started playing Final Fantasy VII Remake then, and immediately it hit me like, oh, this is actually well written. Like the dialogue here makes sense. Like they're speaking English. They're well. I mean, they can also speak Japanese, but I mean, it makes sense. Like it's
right. I understand. It's more modern English for sure.
Yeah. Like the characters are actually talking to each other and not speaking riddles. And and it looks amazing. It plays amazing. It's the characters are very emotive. So last time we talked, I got to chapter 4 or 5, I think, the Crab Warden. I played up until chapter 16 now, so I'm almost at the end. There's 18 chapters, I think. I love it. I think it's one of my favorite games ever. I would put it in my top 10. Maybe it is number 10, not higher than that, but I would definitely put it in there for the very simple reason that I love these characters, man.
Yeah.
I love all of them. There's not a single one, even Cloud. Last time we talked, I wasn't a huge fan of Cloud.
You weren't into Cloud, yeah.
No, but even he grew on me. Like, these characters are so well written. I don't know if that was the case in the original. I didn't play the original. You guys did.
Yeah. It is, yeah.
So they're well written, but I think there's certain characters you don't get to know as well in the original.
You don't. They flesh out a lot more characters in this than they did in the original.
Like Jesse,
like I all presume? The Avalanche people, yeah.
Okay, because
like Jesse, they're barely in the game in the original.
Okay, because I love Jesse.
Yeah.
I that's my waifu. No.
Yeah.
No.
Oh yeah.
Disgusting. No.
No. Leave that to short, man.
No.
You said that like you're like you're in some like occupied land by an opposing force. You're like a spy. You were like a spy, dude, right there.
I'm infiltrating, Ben.
Yeah.
But no, those characters are so well written. They have so much depth. I said Jesse because when you go, it's a slight spoiler. I guess that's okay, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you go home with her to her house and you find out that her dad is sick because of the energy he got, and that's so they all have such interesting backstories. And Wedge with the cats, and it's all so much fun. It's all so much lighthearted, but also not. Like, it's very dark in the background, which you at first didn't know, which I at first didn't notice at all. It especially hit me how great this game is in chapter 8 when you first meet Aerith. When you fall down and the whole scene with the Turks. I was like, oh, this is really interesting, because before that everything is really linear, really segmented. After that it's linear too, but that's when the world really opened up to me, right? That's when I really first started understanding, like, oh, I'm in like a big game. This is not just the little slums and that's it. No, I actually get to explore the entire city here, which is really cool. There's also, of course, there's still like the weird weeby stuff as well, like when you're fighting the haunted house and stuff. I was like, what are we doing? Why?
I love that boss fight, Hell House.
It's so good.
It was fun. Yeah. It was definitely fun. But the thing that this game does, what no other game does anymore lately, except for maybe the Banishers, is it surprises me constantly. I haven't had that feeling. Well, that's not true. I've had that feeling with Baldur's Gate 3. But apart from that, I haven't had that feeling in years, literally years. And this game just keeps doing it. Every chapter, there's something that happens where I'm like, oh, shit, no, I didn't see that coming at all. The one thing, maybe the 2 chapters maybe that didn't really resonate with me were 10 and 11, where you were like in the sewers and the haunted train yard.
The sewers is kind of the part that drags the most, I'd say.
Yeah,
one of the parts. Yeah,
you get a couple of cool interactions, but those were I mean, those were pretty centered. And I also, one of the lesser parts of the game is I think that there's so many corridors, like when you blow up reactor 5, I think it is.
Yeah.
Like you have to navigate the vents and then you have to get to the other side. And I was, again, maybe I'm an idiot, but I was just looking at the map and like, I kept ending up in the same place because I couldn't read the map, I guess, because I'm an idiot again. It's not the game's fault. But stuff like that, it all looked the same, and you have to fight the same enemies over and over again, even though the combat is amazingly awesome. One of the best combat systems I've ever played. But yeah, it's just it's very hard to admit for me that I was, or it's not very hard at all actually, that I was completely wrong about this game. This game is absolutely amazing. I also think like the underbelly of the city, like when you meet that Don Corneo and the whole side story with that. Also something I saw over the years, of course, Cloud in his dress. I saw the memes or I saw the videos or I edited videos where that was in. I was always like, funny, I guess. But no, it's really cool. It's pretty dark too. It's pretty... It all has these very serious undertones. I can't wait to finish it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna finish it on Tuesday, so in 2 days,
And then on Wednesday, I'll have to watch a recap of what's that game called, Ben?
Crisis Core?
Crisis Core?
Yeah, Crisis Core. I have to watch a recap of that, and then on Wednesday, I'll jump into Rebirth.
I almost recommend you don't at this point.
Well, I know what happens in it because I've edited so many videos about it. Like I know the ending of it, and I know. Well, I don't want to. I can.
No, I wouldn't. Not this close to.
Okay.
But yeah,
go ahead, Ben.
I was just gonna say, I think, and we'll talk about this a little bit more whenever we get to that. But I think if you've never played the original and you're 3 days out from playing Rebirth, you could skip Crisis Core for now. That's going to be my hot take on that.
Well, I agree with that. I also saw Colin last week say that you have to play the original to play this one, but I agree actually, I agree to some extent. The reason I didn't have to do that was because of my job. Like I edit so many, I've edited so many Final Fantasy videos for Maddie and some other channels that I know exactly beat for beat what happens in the main story. I've watched a million walkthroughs. I've watched a million gameplay videos. So I know exactly how the main story of the main game plays out. So I could tell where the differences were in this game. But I think if you don't know that, that really takes away from it. I guess because, well, you guys would know this better than I do, of course.
Yeah, I'll say you just get more out of the story.
Yeah.
Without getting into details, but you will get more out of it. You will appreciate some things more. You can play the games without playing the originals, and the developers know this. Not everyone's played the originals.
Dude, they're even saying you can play Rebirth without playing Remake, and I disagree.
Yeah, they say that, and I don't think you should. I think you should, but
obviously, but
you can obviously, but they want people to buy the game. Right. That's why they're saying it.
There was one moment where I was completely lost, though. I don't know if you can explain it to me.
We can talk about it after. If it's spoilers, we can talk about it after.
It's not a spoiler.
Okay.
At some point, something happens, and there's a robot cat. And
I'm not going to tell you what that is yet.
Yeah,
you'll find out.
Okay, but okay?
You'll find
out. You
would have no idea. You did not miss anything.
No.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah,
okay.
They'll get into that later.
Because when that happened, I was like, what?
It's
what is going on?
Yeah,
what is
that's
this?
So funny. Yeah.
Okay, but that's good because I thought like, I clearly missed like a side quest or something. But that's cool.
You need to play the DLC intermission.
Yeah.
Before you play Rebirth.
It's like
it's like
3
5 hours.
Yeah.
3-5 hours.
Okay.
Just you play that. It kind of leads into Rebirth in some way.
There were also a lot of. This is gonna sound stupid, maybe, but like when Cloud hallucinates about Sephiroth, it reminded me a lot of Arkham Knight.
Sure,
where
Joker?
Batman dreams of the Joker. Yeah, where he's like taunting him. I really love those parts, especially those are the parts that I think elevates it if you played the first one, which I didn't. So I think maybe if you played the first one, those are the parts that hit harder.
Yes,
but I still absolutely loved it. I can't wait to see the ending, and I can't wait to jump into Rebirth this week.
Yeah, soon. Cool, man. I'm really happy you enjoyed the game. That's awesome. I didn't expect you to enjoy it that much. Like you put it in your top 10. That's awesome.
Me neither. Yeah, it's also the music is normally.
Oh yeah.
Normally, I really don't like, and this is again not an insult. I don't like anime music. Like it's always like the same piano, plingy plongy. It doesn't do anything for me. But this one is so beautiful. It's so every theme is so cool. You can find the songs in the
jukebox.
It's everywhere. It's so cool. It's so beautiful. Really, everything is beautiful.
I feel like all the Final Fantasy games, with a few exceptions, the music is like that, where it like does not fit the genre, but it also perfectly does. You know, like it's the music's so well done.
Locke, who's your favorite person to play as?
Do you mean during the combat?
Yeah.
Not Barrett.
Okay.
No. Not because he's black, but just because it's
right.
That's
the range.
It's the guns and the range. Yeah, it doesn't really do anything. I love playing as Tifa because it's so quick.
Yeah, she's fun. Definitely.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Tifa's my favorite to play as with the exception of like I don't feel like I'm doing enough damage when I play as Tifa.
Yeah. Well, she has like what's that called? Like her ability where she powers up.
Yeah. I mean, she'll still kill the baddies, but it
Yeah.
just doesn't feel like the power fantasy I'm looking for.
Oh, she's super good. What if I told you she's like the most powerful person in that game?
Is she?
If you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, that could be it. That could be it. Yeah.
Yeah, she's insanely good. But yeah.
Is it meant to be played on hard, or is it meant to be played on
No,
on
I mean,
normal?
you can't unlock hard until you beat the game anyways.
Yes, but is it because I'm playing on normal and I die not a lot, but I do die. I don't think it's super easy. So what is it like on hard? What does that do?
So hard mode is essentially a new game plus mode where you keep your levels, like the level cap goes up. I think it's 50 in the base game, then it goes to 99 or 100. And you keep all your materia and stuff like that. And just the enemies are way harder. You can't use items in hard mode either. So you got to be careful about your MP and all that stuff. And also there's some bosses that are only in hard mode. So.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there's like extra content there.
Yes.
Okay.
So
and to get the plat, you also need to play on hard.
Yes,
I guess.
you do. Yes. The plat kind of takes a while because you have to replay a couple chapters, couple times. Okay. Monster Pontius wrote in, "Hey summoners, first time writing in. I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan, and 2023 was the first year I played Final Fantasy VII. We're going to lump this in with Crisis Core also. Crisis Core Reunion and Final Fantasy VII Remake. 2 games that absolutely mean a lot to me now, and I don't know how I could have slept on these 2 before. Now, Brad, if I haven't played FF7 Original, do you think I will not have the full experience for Rebirth when it comes out? I know what Colin said last episode, and that doesn't spoil it for me. I plan on going back to the original 7 this year, but I am so hyped for Rebirth, it's my most anticipated GOTY. My schedule for long games is tight due to being a father of 2 and work-life balance, etc. Anyways, love the show, man. You're great addition to the crew. Keep up the great work, man." All right, so let's see. So it's hard for me to say. I haven't played Rebirth, so I don't know what's going to happen in Rebirth. I don't know about the story stuff, so I can't speak to that with 7 Original. If I was you, and it sounds like you don't have a lot of time, just play Rebirth, man. If you're really anticipating it, and like, I don't want people to play Final Fantasy VII, the original, and feel like they have to rush through it to get to the next thing. I think people, when you play 7, you should just play 7 because you want to play it and take your time with it. You will miss some things based off Remake. You will miss some of the cues and stuff like that. Some moments might not hit as hard to you, particularly some of the Sephiroth things Locke was talking about. And even Avon Children for that matter, too. But I think you'll be just fine. I think you'll be okay. So don't worry about it. Just play Rebirth if you've played Remake, especially. This is from Kazin Risk. "Hey, you Chocobo Poundin' Summoners." Ooh. Playing through Remake now to prepare for Rebirth, and I have to ask, am I experiencing no more nostalgia? Never grew up on Final Fantasy VII, but loved Kingdom Hearts as a kid, and FF7 Remake feels like nostalgic comfort food gaming. Take care and have we have to wait 1 more week to play Rebirth kind of day. This is interesting to me. Experiencing the more nostalgia. I mean, I guess, because now I want to make this very clear. People that think anything wacky, some people think that anything wacky in Final Fantasy is no more solely. I want to remind you all that Final Fantasy has always been weird. Always. Even back to the original game, the story has always been crazy. That is a very Square Enix thing. It's not solely Nomura. Nomura has some crazy shit, but it's not solely him. For instance, he's not the writer of this game, or the 7 games. He worked on 7, but he was not the only creative force on it. So keep that in mind. But I guess they kind of do have... You could totally get that more nostalgia, I guess, if you play Kingdom Hearts, because you're seeing characters from Kingdom Hearts in Final Fantasy VII, particularly Cloud. You're seeing Sephiroth and stuff like that, and Tifa. They've been in Kingdom Hearts games, so I guess you can kind of get that nostalgia feeling. I don't know. Ben, what do you think?
I played Kingdom Hearts 1. around the time it released. I haven't played anything else since then. So they're so different to me. I guess you could get, if you want to call it, the more nostalgia with.
They play very different. Yes,
they play very differently. So I think you just like good games. I mean, never mind. I don't know about Kingdom Hearts. No, I did love Kingdom Hearts as a kid.
I know about it. Yeah, you do.
Yeah. I that's one of those games where I have them. I look at them sometimes and I'm like, I'll play these someday, and I just don't.
Here's the thing, Ben. There's a movement happening at LSM.
No,
Colin said he's down to play Kingdom Hearts. So when Colin does, maybe everyone should just play along too. All of the crew, everyone. I'll replay them too with you guys, or I'll replay the first one. We all play through one again.
I play one again, just for the nostalgia's sake, and I'll play the rest of them too. But I'm very much not completionist, and I don't care about platinums and stuff like that necessarily. Right. But I'm very much if I'm gonna play Kingdom Hearts, I got to play all 97 of them across 16 different systems.
What if I told you? You could play them all on PlayStation, all of them, except for the mobile games. But
there's the story so far. Does that cover everything?
You do the all-in-one package.
Yeah, I have it.
Okay, that's like everything, except for the mobile games. But you can look those up.
Shit, Brad.
Even I don't play the mobile games.
Yeah.
But no
Brad,
excuse.
You're a scourge upon my soul. You've gotten me to play so many games that I wouldn't have played otherwise.
Excellent. Yeah, Kingdom Hearts 4 is coming probably next year, so
yeah,
time.
Yeah, can't wait to see Aladdin in Mickey's castle with Sephiroth's sword as his weapon.
You joke about that, then you'd be like, I was telling Colin this, he doesn't believe me. Donald and Goofy are like some of the sickest party members you're ever gonna have in a game. You're gonna love those boys.
I've watched a lot of 2 and 3 over the years. Different streamers I like, just popping in their channel to support them, and then I get sucked in.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. This is from Cliff Boyd. Last night, I watched a re-release of Advent Children in our local movie theater. I hadn't seen it since I first saw it a decade or more ago, but it was better than I remember. Before the film, there was clips from interviews with Naokio Hamaguchi, Yoshinori Katase, and Tetsuya Nomura. They talked about how Advent Children is connected to the Remake project games, and then said this. Nojima-san said that he wanted to try to connect all the spin-offs that have been released so far. So when are we working toward? So we're working towards that as a major assignment. Then seeing how Zach is used in the Advent Children movie, it made me wonder whether I should play through Crisis Core before going any further. I've played 7 and Remake so far, but only dabbled in Crisis Core on the PSP back in the day, and I have never touched Dirge Cerberus before. I'm probably not going to get to Rebirth immediately anyway, so should I take the time to play Crisis Core before I eventually do, or would watching a story recap suffice? So, Crisis Core, I would recommend playing it before Rebirth, if you have the time, the opportunity. It sounds like if you're not going to play right away, just play it. It's not a very long game if you mainline it. It's 12 hours. So you could do that. Dirge Cerberus, you don't need to play. Well, you'll recognize some things. Dirge Cerberus is not a good game. I'm not a big fan of it, and it's a PS2 game, so it's kind of hard, and it's not available on anything else, so it's kind of hard to get a hold of. But play Crisis Core if you can before Rebirth. Essentially, my ideal is I would have played everything before Rebirth. I would have gone in the release order. That's how I would have done things. But you'll be okay. You watch Advent Children, you'll be good to go. So, yeah. Try to do something with Crisis Core at least. You'll appreciate some things more. All right, Ben. Crisis Core. You played some of it. Crisis Core Reunion. This is the remake, remaster of the PSP game, which is a pretty good update, I would say.
Yeah.
The game itself, there's problems, but I'd say the update itself was pretty good.
Yeah.
Talk to me about it.
So I've talked before about how I played, I talked last time I was on the show about how many times I had played 7 through the years. And I saw the movie in 2006. I want to say it was in between my
I think
between my senior year of high school and freshman in college, so right around there. but I'd never played Crisis Core, and so I'm like, okay, I want to play Crisis Core Reunion, and I'm going to play it on the Steam Deck because I know it was originally a PSP game. I know the new one can be played wherever, but I decided to play it on there. The reason I've stopped playing it, I've got about 5 or 6 hours into it, is because my save is on my Steam Deck and it hadn't, because I was playing it offline because I wasn't home, and my Steam Deck is out of commission until I get that part in from iFixit. Keep it up. So I'm not done with it yet, and I never played it before. I played some of the other spinoffs, but I never played it before. And you're right, it's not a perfect game by any means, and not having played the first one, this one seems like a great port or remake, I guess, of the game. So I think it's excellent. It dives deep into Zach's story. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
It is for those who don't know, it's a prequel to 7, and I'm really enjoying it. Now, I've played the original 7, I've played Remake, but that lends to my point about why I said I don't. If you haven't played the original, now that we're a week out from Rebirth, I don't know if you should play it because there's a lot there that I feel like if you haven't played the original, you're just going to be confused as hell playing Crisis Core because there's so much that, first of all, it's no secret they changed up some things in Remake, and I'm sure there's even more things in Rebirth that are going to be changed up a good bit. And there's story details that conflict at this point. Not like major conflicts that straight up contradict the story or anything, but there's things in Crisis Core Reunion that
it'll kind of it'll take away from some of the story, I guess, some of the mystery.
Yeah, and so if you're going in fresh eyes, to Rebirth, then just experience Rebirth, because I feel like not only Crisis Core, but I also feel like the original Final Fantasy VII, if you haven't played it at this point and you want to play Remake or Rebirth, I say play Remake or Rebirth at this point, to be, I don't know, part of the conversation, for lack of a better way to say it. Because I feel like Final Fantasy VII, the original, is one of those games you can go back to and play it, and it's still going to be good, and you're still going to be surprised at certain things. And I feel like Crisis Core is very much the same way. You're not, if you haven't played the original Final Fantasy VII, you're not missing anything for Rebirth by not playing Crisis Core. In fact, you might even be, depending on what they do with Rebirth, you might even be spoiling some things for yourself about what's to come. So that's why I mentioned the lock earlier. I don't know if I'd play it, but I think it's very much, it's a very good handheld game. And of course, most games are most story games are decent handheld, in my opinion. But the combat system is, you've still got the materia and stuff, but I feel like the way that you use them is very different than 7, while maintaining a lot of that same flow. The slot machine mechanic, you know what I mean? The slot machine mechanic where as you're fighting, like, you get certain materia that unlocks depending on, or materia and summons and limit breaks that unlock as you're playing. Like, that's a really cool mechanic that I didn't know existed in that game. Did that ever exist in the original, Brad?
Yeah.
It did. Okay. Having never played it, I wasn't sure, but I really enjoyed that as well. The story, though, like, Final Fantasy VII, it's a great game, but its real power, in my opinion, is the story and the characters, and especially that's the case in the remake. And I feel like Crisis Core is just like emboldening that in my mind. It adds in every way to the story of Final Fantasy VII, and expands on those characters you either didn't know much about or you didn't know at all to that point. As you mentioned, it's super quick. I'm like 5 hours in, and I think I'm probably halfway through the game at this point. It's not very long, but it has a lot of loose ends that tie things together. Yeah. Even though it's a prequel, it explains some of those more vague things that you don't experience so much. So yeah, I don't know without finishing it, and I don't know that I'll get to finish it before Rebirth. I don't know if it's an essential game if you've not played the original, but I think it's an essential game for the series and for fans, and I think you owe it to yourself to play it if you are someone who has been along the journey, all along the way. So I'm enjoying it. I love it. I'm happy if you have things that might open up that conversation, but yeah, without finishing it, it's hard for me to put a final bow on it. especially
Sure.
with it being such an old game. But I'm liking it.
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a fun game. It definitely, playing it, you're like, oh yeah, this was definitely a PSP game. When you think about like
absolutely.
some of the areas, they're really tiny or whatever and stuff like that. Like some of the character animations are really stiff, but the models look really good on a lot of them.
They do, yeah. I love in the first couple hours of the game, you're like going through infiltrating one of the bases, and like you walk up to like hidden walls and enemies pop out, and you're like,
yeah,
this was a PSP game. Like I don't, it just feels like a PSP game.
Yeah. How do you feel about the side missions? There's a lot to do.
Yeah.
If you want, to me, Ben, that made perfect sense for a handheld game. People like on the train or whatever do a mission or two before their stop. That felt like a very PSP handheld thing, and they would do in Japan. And they're okay in this. They're all right. I don't really do them that much. Yeah. Except for like there's small lore things, I guess, from them and some useful materia. But I usually skip most of them.
I've only done 2 side missions. One of them was unintentional. And I think for my first playthrough of the game, I'm going to skip the rest of them and just mainline it. And then this is a game that I'll go back to and play again someday and do more of them at that point. But yeah, I mean, I haven't played enough of them to really speak on them, but you're right. It does make sense that they'd be included in a handheld game. I think if they were part of a mainline game, it would not feel fun as much. Maybe, like one of the big things about Remake was, why do I got to go around finding cats at the beginning? Like it's not quite like that, but it is. I get it.
It's side content.
Yeah.
Gotta have that side content.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Rebirth is on the horizon. Maybe out by the time you're listening to this from you. So
it's true.
Please enjoy. Don't fucking look at me though. Don't say anything to me.
Brad's gonna go into the void and only come out to record the show.
Disappear. That's what it feels like, dude.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Let's talk about our final game. Helldivers 2. We have all been playing this game quite a bit. Together, we've all played this game. We have squatted up many times. I've talked about this game several times on this show, so I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it.
Locke, I've been rambling. You go first.
Well, the second I bought Helldivers 2 on Steam, I knew it was going to be big. Like the first time you drop with the music, the cool music playing, I knew like this is going to be huge. This is going to be fantastic. So many things have already been said about this game, so I can keep it short. I think the most fun I've had in years is playing with you guys, with my friends, and just accidentally killing each other.
I like the quote you put up there.
Ben, we were playing yesterday with Justin or the day before, I think, and we were what do you call it, escaping at the end. We were boarding the thing, and I figured, well, I'll just nudge him a little to see what happens. I did. I nudged him while he was entering the plane, but somehow the game glitched and he flew through the plane and couldn't get back up again, so he died. Which I couldn't leave the game anymore, which was very funny. But the amount of times we've played together and laughed about stupid shit like a nuke going off and then killing everybody accidentally, or Dustin accidentally dropping all of us in the middle of Terminator Village, or there's so many cool moments. Every time you drop, there's a cool new memory or a new cool moment that happens that you'll remember for a couple of days after. So it's a game that's completely driven by community and by gameplay. Really, I don't care about the story at all. I don't even think there is one. You've got like the Destiny Lance Reddick lookalike guy standing next to the map, who's like silent and doesn't really do anything. But I guess there is lore. I heard Colin and Oak talk about the lore last week, which sounded interesting, but I don't think that's important for the game at this point anyway.
No, it's there if you want it, but it's not. Yeah. You don't need it if you don't care. Yeah, and it's not intrusive at all.
Right. No, exactly. It's very much about the gameplay. I think the diversity in weapons, like lately, we've been really starting to coordinate who brings what on what mission, so we can coordinate. Like yesterday or the day before, I think it was all three of us, right? Where we had to rescue those scientists. It's the worst possible mission you can get, where you have to rescue the scientists and we were on extreme or on
It
challenge.
was a harder mission, yeah.
Yeah. And just we kept dying and dying over and over again. But then we figured out like, oh, if we get this kind of turret and we place it there and we put this person next to it, then we'll be all right. And then it worked out and we did it. So there's really some fun co-op elements too, which I didn't expect at first. I also think like the way weapons unlock is very organic. There's no intrusive store really. I mean, there is one, but it doesn't really matter. It's all handled really well. The one downside to it are those nasty servers. I remember a week ago today, or last Tuesday at least, I think that we were waiting for like 5 hours to get in.
Yeah, it got like really bad in the second week. I feel like when it first came out, we got in really easy. Yeah, it was totally fine, no problem. But then it started getting really bad for a while.
Which, what a good problem to have, that too many people want to play your game. I mean, obviously it sucks. You get bad press and there's people who really fund the game or whatever, but what an amazing problem to have, that you made the game so good that too many people want to play it.
Yeah.
I think that the CEO even tweeted like, don't buy it right now. Or I completely understand if you don't buy it.
Yeah, I've been having a blast for sure. It's so much fun. I mean, and granted, like 95% of my playtime in that game, which is creeping up there at this point, on how many hours I've played, is been with friends. You know, either you guys or a couple of our other friends, and just being in an environment that it's always fun. I mean, even if you play a bad game, if you're hanging out with your buddies, it's a good time, right? Like, whatever. But this game is so fun on its own that it's just like a plus to have your friends with you. Like, you're right about, like, when we first were playing, the strategy was just kill everything, and now there's got to be, as we're getting into these more difficulties, there's much more strategy coming out, and a little bit more thought put into the loadouts you're taking into the planets. You've gotten, you get to know the people you're playing with play styles. And I know that if Locke is there, I pretty much have to constantly be on the lookout for a nuke that he's going to drop and kill the entire team. Like, there's just so much depth in what seems like such a little game. And there's really only a couple different styles of missions for each, for the Terminids and for the robots, the automatons. But the way that every mission presents itself, like, there's never a time we go out to a mission and it plays out the exact same as the time before. There's going to be new bug breaches that occur, and there's going to be drop ships that happen that didn't happen before. And you're going to have to deal with those in a different way. And, this time we go in to save the scientist, and one person just goes around and kites all the automatons, and the other guys get the scientist out, and the mission's over, and you're on suicide difficulty, and it's totally fine, and you didn't have any problems. The next time you're on hard, and the kite method doesn't work, and you got to restart it 7 times to be able to finish it. And like, there's so much dynamicness. That's not a word, but the game is so dynamic that you're able to experience new things every time you're playing. Now, I don't think I've talked about this. Yeah, I definitely haven't talked about this on an LSM show, but my one real problem with the game, I can deal with the server issues. I understand. They didn't expect the game to be successful or this successful. Okay, I get it. I can deal with some of the weird glitchy stuff that happens in the game. Again, it's such a dynamic game. I get it. My real problem with this game is, yes, it's $40. Yes, there's a free battle pass, but there are specific weapons that are locked behind the paid battle pass, and I do not like that. You put cosmetics in there all day long, every day, I'm not going to say a word. You put actual gameplay mechanics in behind a paid battle pass, even at a $40, it's more excusable at a $40 game, but even with a $40 game, and I'm like, I just, like, if I want that weapon, not a perk, not whatever, I want that weapon. The fact that I not only had to pay for the game plus pay for the battle pass kind of sucks, in my opinion.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Now, with that said, like, there's lots of other games where you only get the weapon if you get the battle pass, but most of those are free to play games, and it's much more excusable in those games to me. So that's my only real knock against the game. I'm having so much fun. I was actually like kind of mourning last night because I was like, man, once Rebirth comes out and we're all playing it, are we still going to squad up with the boys? You know, like,
Well,
I'm sure
yeah.
we will, because you can't play Rebirth 24/7.
Exactly. Yeah. We'll beat
But-
Rebirth at some point.
Yeah, but it was just the idea. Like, I've very rarely had a game that I was enjoying so much that I was mourning my most anticipated game from coming out. Like, that's how good this game is, that I'm almost like, man, I kind of wish Rebirth would come out a month later or something like that. So no, I'm having a blast, and 40, 50 hours in, whatever it is at this point, I'm not feeling burnt out on it at all, which is big for me. So yeah, I love it. It's so good.
Yeah. Well, one good thing that to rally people back, Ben, will be when they add new content.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be adding new content. Like, they tease the mech and all that stuff. So whenever
Right.
they do that over time, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my Steam time. I have 33 hours right now, and it doesn't feel like it when I play it.
Right.
It's totally, we've talked about this a lot. It's totally reminds me a lot of Left 4 Dead. Like
Mhm.
that feeling like you could replay it over and over again, doing the same thing, but you're still having fun. It still feels different every time you're going through it. It's just one of those special games that's hitting the right time with the right replayability.
Yeah.
That it's connecting with a lot of people right now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still having fun playing it. So I'm still looking forward to playing more. And it's so much fun with everyone. I think if you play solo, you won't have as much fun, but I think you're missing out on a lot of the game. Even if you don't have friends to play with, just squad up with random people online. I think you'll get a lot more out of the game with other players.
I had somebody ask me yesterday if I had seen if there had been reports of a rise in like griefers, people just joining public batches and griefing, and I hadn't, but I saw an article, I think it was this morning on Twitter, that basically said like they're having a real problem with people not realizing that resources are shared. So let's say you go and pick up a rare sample, like people are killing their teammates so that they get the rare samples because they don't realize that they're shared. That kind of sucks. I wish people would it tells you in like 57 different places, hey, everything's shared, super credits are shared. Like, you don't have to compete for them. That kind of sucks, but hopefully that's an education thing. And that's going to happen as you get, 750,000 people playing a multiplayer game at once. You're going to have some idiots, I guess.
Yeah,
but
of course.
That's a PSA for everybody. Everything's shared. Your loot is all shared. Don't team kill.
Don't team kill.
Yeah.
Well, you can if you're having fun, whatever, every now and then. But don't grieve too hard. All right, guys. Let's end the show as we always do with some questions. Once again, if you want to send a question, patreon.com/laststandmedia. $2 and up, I believe, is where you enter questions in. So join us over there. First question is from Tom Brown. Hey, Summoning Crew. With regards to Suicide Squad, a game has never confused me more. What do you think of the boss fights? I had such high expectations of this aspect and thought it was a given that would be great based off their old games. Instead, I felt like they were all pretty mediocre except for Batman. What boss battles in your Ghost of Gaming past really let you down? So, boss battles, games that really let us down in the past.
Good question.
I got to think about this too for a second. What really let me down in a boss fight? I definitely remember, everyone remembers this in like old Castlevania 2. You can like Dracula's just kind of whack at the end of that game. One reason I hate that game compared to most Castlevania games. I definitely remember just being like, oh, that was it? Okay. I guess that was Dracula. What about you guys? Can you think of anything off the top of your head? I know it's a tough question when I really think about it.
The end boss one of the final bosses in The Witcher, like the captain of the Wild Hunt.
Oh, dude, yes, I do remember that. Yeah,
stupid easy. Like there was really nothing to that fight. That was a really big letdown for me.
I'm trying hard to think of some. It's tough for me because I don't really anticipate those fights a lot.
Sure.
I just like the ride. So I don't know. I'm sure there is one if I could think of it. I've been playing Elden Ring, the seamless co-op. I haven't played in a while, but I was playing it a lot with a buddy of mine, Brandon. And I think I was realizing with a few of the boss fights, maybe more of the minor bosses, not the story path ones, but I was like, wow, it was a lot more work getting here than it was actually fighting this boss.
Sure. Well, you're playing seamless co-op too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. But no, I can't really think of many.
Yeah. It's hard for me to think off the top of my head.
Well, Spider-Man 2. I would say
2.
all the bosses. No, well, one of them was awesome, but I don't want to spoil it. But there were 2 in there. One screams at you to pay your mortgage, and another one, was a bit of a letdown. But there were also really cool bosses in there, so that doesn't really count. That game had really cool bosses too.
The last like big encounter, big set piece boss in BioShock Infinite. I think that environment is really cool, but I think the actual combat of it is not. I don't think it's the best. Yeah.
Well, that just makes me think of BioShock 1, also the final boss.
Yeah. I wasn't going to say that one, but yeah, you're right.
I was like, oh yeah, when you brought up Infinite.
There's a cool reveal there, but there's nothing that special.
Yeah, the act of it, is like, whatever. All right, this is from Cocky and Ballwrinkle. Apologies for the name, Brad. I got to keep Chris on his toes for the credits read. In case you guys don't know, Chris, apparently for like Snark Tank, he reads out patrons in his credits the names out loud, and people always give him ridiculous names. So keeping it going here. Haven't played any games on the docket, but I have a couple quickies. How do we feel about visual novels? Played any? Favorites? Open to the idea? And for Lockmort, do you like Aborted? They're one of my favorite bands from Belgium as well.
Okay, I thought that was another question.
No. Band from Belgium, apparently.
Oh, that's awesome. No, I've never heard of them, but I'll look them up right after this. That's cool, man. No, but thank you for the recommendation. That's awesome.
Visual novels. Are we into them? Played any favorites? So I'll say personally, I'm not really into visual novels. They don't really do it for me. I totally respect them, and I think there's some really cool ideas they do with them, but the act of going through them usually just doesn't keep me engaged. Yeah. So, I mean, I've played some of Danganronpa and stuff like that, and I know people always say that's like, you gotta play those games.
Well, is it Persona that kind of? No?
Persona 3 Reload has visual aspect. Oh, sorry, not Reload. Persona 3 Portable has some visual novel aspects. It's much more visual, but no, it's not a visual novel.
What's the because you control people, I guess. Like you walk
you're running around in dungeons and stuff like that. You're
of course,
actively moving through an environment. Visual novel, you just kind of stare at a screen and pick choices and read.
I've never been like, I want to buy that visual novel, because I'm like, well, if I'm really not interacting that much, why wouldn't I just watch a full, no commentary replay of it on YouTube or something? Now, on the other hand, I think it's a pejorative term, but walking simulators, if it's the right one, I'm into it. Like Edith Finch, for example.
So good.
One of my like top 15, 20 games of all time. Yeah. Now, there's much, you actually do things in that, but it's still a walking simulator. Visual novels, no. Walking simulators, if it's really good, but not just because. I want to experience the game myself usually.
Sure. Yeah. All right. Final question from Bobby T. Hey, my summoners that I call in for every FromSoft boss because I'm a filthy casual. Simple one from me. What game would you love to replay for the first time? For me, it's Red Dead Redemption 2. It's arguably my favorite game of all time, but it pains me that you can only really appreciate and experience a story once. Have a great weekend, and thanks for the top content.
Yeah.
I got 2 right off the bat. Very frequent ones. It's the 2 behind me. Tears of the Kingdom and Elden
Mm.
Ring.
Oh,
In case you guys don't know, listeners, Zelda is like one of my favorite franchises. It's what made me fall in love with video games back on the NES. So I love Zelda. I have some qualms with Tears of the Kingdom, but I can't deny the fact when I was playing that game, I was just so sucked into the game. Time would just go slip by and I wouldn't even notice. I was just so into exploring and finding everything. And of course, Elden Ring, I love from software. So of course, getting experienced a lot of those wow moments the first time, like going down underground and all that stuff. It was just so magical. Like, of course, some of my favorite games would be fun to replay again, but I think in games, one of my favorite things in games, if not, is the sense of exploration and discovery that you get, especially from those two games. I just love in video games. So being able to do that again for the first time would be wonderful for me.
It's awesome.
I was gonna say Red Dead Redemption 2 as one of mine, but now I'm gonna pick two different ones.
Ooh.
The first one is Link's Awakening. And then fortunately, they remade Link's Awakening, and it is every bit as good, in my opinion, as the original. But being able to play that game again for the first time with that sense of wonder, you know, it was totally one of them. And then the other one is 100% Near Automata. Not as much for the gameplay as the story. I mean, I love the gameplay too, but just all the different things I learned and it made me think about in that game.
Yeah.
Once you know it, you can't play it the same way again. So that's
definitely.
Usually my answers are Red Dead 2 and Near Automata. But since, you know, I got to play by the rules here, he took that one, so I got to say Link.
Yeah.
That's cool. I would pick Oblivion.
Ooh.
Man, yeah.
Because I still remember that was the first game where I really believed like you could go anywhere and find everything. There were so many secrets in that game. That's why I was so disappointed when. Remember, I think in those Nvidia leaks, it had like a Oblivion remake in there or a remaster, but it never came out. So I'm starting to lose hope that was real. But that game is really special to me. And then the other one, I would pick either Baldur's Gate 2 or The Witcher 3.
Or very good.
No, yeah, those two. Yeah, those.
Yeah.
Man,
Elder Scrolls is so funny for me because the only one I've ever like played is Skyrim, and I thought it was cool at the time. And because like I said before, I didn't have a PC till I was like late in high school, so I missed out on a lot of those games. But I've always wanted to play Oblivion. I always wanted to play Morrowind, and I think like, man, I want to play Fallout New Vegas. I've never played that. Yeah, that's right, Locke. I've never played Fallout New Vegas.
We can make a deal right now.
Okay.
Right now.
Okay.
I will play. I'm gonna play Persona 3 already, so that deal is already made. I will play Persona 5 if you play New Vegas this year.
Well, I feel like New Vegas is a much shorter probably compared to Persona 5.
Yeah, it definitely is.
I made a wrong deal again.
You don't have to make a deal with me. I want to play it.
Oh,
I want to play it, but I'll definitely have to get some mods for it, I suppose.
Yes, there's this really cool program called Webajack, and you download it, and it basically downloads 1,000 mods for any game. Well, not for any game, for any Bethesda game you want. So it does it automatically. I'll send it to you after this. It's really cool.
Okay.
So you don't have to do it manually.
Yeah, I mean, I won't be able to get to it for a while, but
yeah, of course.
I want to play it. Yeah, because I mean, like I enjoyed Fallout 3. I didn't really like 4 that much. But everyone tells me New Vegas is like the best story and narrative. And I'm like, all right, cool. And like a game like that sounds pretty fun to me right now. Especially because I bounced off Starfield.
Yes.
I may go back and play New Vegas again too, now that you mention it. I haven't played it since pre-release. Because I played it pre-release and reviewed it at the time. And it was so broken. I've always had a bad memory of it. But everybody talks so highly of it. I'm like, no, that game sucks. But yeah, maybe I'll give it another shot. It's been enough time now. Should be fixed.
New Vegas got like destroyed when it launched. Like everyone was hating on it, and it wasn't until Fallout 4 that people really started to come. Well, before that too, but when Fallout 4 launched, people were really starting to hype up New Vegas more and more.
Yeah. I mean, I heard the writing's great in it, and I do like Obsidian, so definitely want to try it out. They're one of my local game devs.
Yeah.
So I always support them. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like
Nice.
pretty close to me.
Have you played? You've played their other games?
No, I actually haven't played a lot of their games, but every time I play one of their games, I'm like, yo, these guys are good.
Mm-hmm.
I played Outer Worlds. I thought that was fun. I enjoyed it. I played some of Pentiment. I thought that was really good from what I played of it.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, a lot of their older games, I haven't played a lot of them. So I do like their games though, from what I've played. All right, boys. That's it. That's another episode of Summon Sign done in the can. I don't know. Like, it's just, I was thinking about this earlier. I didn't even bring this up when I was talking about Keep It Up because of Rebirth is so close. But it's like, man, Elden Ring DLC got announced too.
Yeah.
I'm just on cloud 9 right now with games. I am so happy. Like, I want to play Unicorn Overlord. Dragon's Dogma 2 is right around the corner. It's just insane for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Before we go, guys, though, do you got any final thoughts? Any goodbyes you want to do or anything like that?
I'm going to say goodbye to Chris since I have to kill him from that question at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, I got to kill Colin.
Yeah. So, yeah, Chris, it's been nice knowing you. That's all I got.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Anything from you, Lockmort?
I love everybody equally.
Oh, how nice and diplomatic.
Well, I have to make, okay, let's keep it at that.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's get the hell out of here. We'll see you next week. Take care, everybody. Goodbye. Summon Sign is a product of Last Stand Media and Colin's Last Stand LLC and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is written and hosted by me, Brad Ellis. The show is produced by Dustin Furman. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. Summon Sign, along with the rest of Last Stand's media shows, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we are grateful for your kind contribution and generosity to our independent endeavor. Thank you.